Hello, everyone, and welcome to RHAP's coverage of Australian Survivor Brains V Brawn II. I'm your host, Shannon Guss, here for another deep dive. Sadly, not in person. The state lines were against us today, but I'm so excited to talk to this person who is going to give us a lot of tea, I'm sure, from the Brains tribe, from Jury Villa, and beyond. It is Karin. Karin, thank you for being here.
No, very, very excited to be here. I haven't done a deep dive. I've listened to many, so yeah, looking forward to ramble. Hopefully not, but we'll see.
Everyone says they ramble, and I'm like, firstly, who do you think you're talking to? Like, you're literally talking to me. Secondly, it's not a ramble. Like, the season is long and there's a lot to talk about. Miles and AJ said this. Well, AJ was saying that. I'm like, you weren't rambling. Like, there is 46 days of content. It's a lot.
Well, like I don't know, it comes out like word vomit sometimes, and then you go, "Oh my god, is Shannon falling asleep? Is anyone gonna fall asleep? Is someone gonna like be listening to this on the M1 and going, oh my god, can we just shut Karin up?"
That's podcasting. You've described what it's like to podcast, except I never worry that people are falling asleep. I feel bad for me because I know that like people cannot fall asleep to my podcast. Like I know that I'm keeping people up, that I'm like making them like anxious. That's my own thing. But anyway, then now you're a podcaster, you're admitted into this and you're insecure about that. Like you're in the crew. So Karin, how are you? How has the last like week or so been since the season has ended? I know there was a lot of, cast gatherings and everything. So how's it been?
It was really good. Finale was super interesting because we all met up in Sydney, and leading up to finale, obviously the vote, the penultimate episode is Zara getting voted out, which is and like we were all in Sydney, and I really wanted to be there for Zara. So that was really nice. We all sort of watched it together. It was just the graduates, which is very cute. And I'm so incredibly proud of Zara, and I still get really sad because I'm like, you have so much potential. God damn it. And then just watching Miles win was also incredible. Like we were all there. We were at his house. I met his parents. I met his sister. I met his stepsister. And I do this every time. Like obviously I was very, very drunk at the finale party. So I didn't actually watch the episode with its full intensity and gusto. And then I remember watching it the next day. And every time it comes to Miles's monologue where he goes, I played a big game, but it's my game. But just in tears, cannot help it. And then Miles and I watched it the other day when he was in Melbourne, and he just like laughed at me the entire time. And I'm just like in my living room crying, going, Miles, it's not funny. It's really emotional, and I'm really happy about it. And I can't do this. My God, Miles, go away. Stupid little jungle rat. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I cried through that finale as well, but I've only watched it twice. I did cry both times, and I'm probably not going to watch it again for a long time because I'm dreaming about the show. Okay, it's too much at the moment. But I mean, look, the people listening to the podcast probably know that too, because you're in your third deep dive, like now on the 11th hour of post-season content, like you're a real one, and you're probably dreaming about it as well, and probably crying at things like the finale. But Karin, I'd love to find out, because I know that you put on Twitter like your list of your favorites, and I was like, oh my god, a fan on Australian Survivor, someone who might know what Rocks is. And this cast did have a lot of you. It was a disparate cast, but yeah, what's your fandom journey with the show?
So the first season of American Survivor I watched was Pearl Island. Like I loved it. I loved the concept of it, where they just told them they were coming in for an interview and then just threw them into Survivor, which was hilarious.
That was my first season as well.
Yeah, it was Noonan's
but
first
I came in
season.
halfway through. I came in like around the well, not even more than halfway, like around the Dead Grandma lie, and then my first full season was All Stars. Because how old were you then?
When did Pearl Island?
That was 2003.
Yeah, no, I did. I wouldn't have watched it as it came out. I think I watched it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I started watching Survivor when I was about like 12, 13. So
right.
Yeah, I was born in 93. Actually, yeah, a couple years afterwards.
When's your birthday?
December.
Oh, you're younger than me. I'm February. I don't know why we're doing this. Anyway, yeah. So you started watching Pearl Islands. Okay, yeah. Keep going. Yes.
Yeah, Pearl Islands was my first season. Loved watching it, and then sort of didn't watch it all in order. I watched like tidbits here and there, like then like Micronesia, Tocantins, Cagayan, and then I didn't really clock Survivor until I watched San Juan del Sur and Nat Anderson was playing. Yeah. Like I watched so much Survivor, and I'd never seen someone that I could ever relate to. And Nat Anderson was it. Nat Anderson was Sri Lankan. She was this incredible woman who was super feisty, said everything that was in her mind. She was so strong. And then she went out to win. And it was one of those sort of like life defining moments for me where I saw someone that looked like me, was kind of like me, and did this incredible thing that is not in the rubric of what a nice Sri Lankan girl does. And then that was it. That altered my entire brain chemistry, and all I wanted to do was go on Survivor. And then I went, oh crap. So I grew up in the Middle East, international school. And I went, well, how do I go to the US? This is not going to happen. And then lo and behold, fast forward a couple of years to start university in Australia. And then Survivor Australia starts up, and this becomes, oh, okay, I can do this. All right, this is happening. And then it was literally my hierarchy of needs was get permanent residency, apply for Survivor. And that was it. There was no sort of, oh yeah, maybe become a doctor, get your permanent residency, work towards a job. No, it was PR, Survivor. Got my PR towards end of 2020, mid 2023. And then that was it, literally. And then, yeah, here we are.
Been applying ever since?
Well, no, I only applied the one.
Oh, you applied the once and you got in. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Natalie Anderson is an all-time favorite as well. Yeah, definitely for me. I mean, look, talk about crying through a finale, but a premiere when she went out first in Winners at War was a devastating time. I want to see is your tweet pinned that you did with all your favorites? I want to talk it through.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, here we go. Natalie Anderson, number 1, speaks for itself. Number 2, Sari Fields.
Yeah,
okay.
like the most robbed player in history. Game Changers needs to burn in hell for that voter. Just in hell. Period.
And other things. But yes, horrible season. And honestly, anyway, Sari's about to play Australian Survivor. Third person, you say Parvati Shallow, about to also play Australian Survivor.
Yeah.
No notes. Yeah. 4, Jerry Manthey.
Yeah. Outback, I think she did not deserve to be a villain. She was not a villain. She's incredible. And her relationship.
It was 2001. It's just not a good time for women.
Yeah. And she was just a divisive character. She said what she needed to say. She had this hilarious love-hate relationship with Colby, and then she came back for Heroes v Villains, and the arc was incredible. Beautiful gameplay in that season. I thought she was fantastic. And I'm like, there we go. That's the Jerry. That is Jerry. That was the woman we had back in the Outback. You just didn't appreciate it or accept her for who she is. Yes.
All right. Okay. Also, you said here top 10 constantly shuffle, except Nat, who is forever number 1. So we're just going to give that caveat. But number 5, Genevieve.
I love her. So newer era Survivor, I tune in and out. I hate the 3 tribe concept. I hate the journeys. There's a lot of hate. But, I never could. It didn't have the same vibe as American Survivor back in the old era. And then I saw 47, and Genevieve was this just emotionally complex, kind of ruthless, cutthroat, beautifully strategic player that had so much depth. And I could not help but fall in love with her. She was incredible to watch. And I thought she was one of the most redeeming characters in that series. She was incredible.
This is such a fun game. I love that. This is so fun because it's taste as well, great taste. 6, David, Janet. You're gonna really love AUV World, all of us are, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, Dave, so I didn't like him in his first round. Actually, no, I did. He was audacious, he was loud, and then he got sent home with an idol. And then All Stars was the biggest goat herding steamroll of the century. It was brilliant. My favorite move ever is when he and Matt Rogers at the start sort of work across alliance lines to get Daisy Richardson out. And it was one of the best things where Matt goes, "Why Daisy?" And it's just pastels. And I love it. I love that move so much.
Petty. That's your move, right?
It's so cool.
I criticized that for being petty at the time. People were not happy with me. And I was like, I just don't think I would go for petty revenge. And people were like, it was brilliant. And I was like, I'm not saying that there wasn't merit to the move itself, but I was just maybe get over it. Anyway, that was okay. Then Kirby. Oh, by the way, David, the only man on this list. Yeah. Yeah.
No comment. Yeah. Kirby Bentley again. So it's a theme. I really like strong women that play divisive games and are relentless strategist. So Kirby is different in the fact that she wasn't a huge survivor plan, but she's a coach. She plays footy. She sees the game in the way I think it should be played, is where you come in with a plan, as you do with any sport, but you play the players in front of you and you read the lines in front of you, and then you play what's in front of you. It's a proactive game in the sense that you know what you're coming across because you're reading the players and how they play and how they navigate things. But it's reactive because that's how sport is played. And it's the same way that Kirby plays. She reads the players in front of her, and then she goes, okay, I need to pivot left, I need to go right, this is what I need to do. And she's not afraid of being aggressive, which is really, really cool. But yeah, Kirby, Stan.
Okay, I think we're learning a lot about your game by learning about your fave. So I think this is going well. It's not where I expected the deep dive to start, but I think it's going well. What about Haley? Haley's 8. Also TAFE.
So see, look, so Miles and I have an argument about this every time. Where Miles is like, no, she got voted out, so it doesn't count.
Oh,
like,
Miles. No. Oh my God, you're lucky you're telling me this now before we did the deep dive. He'd be kicked out of my house. I wouldn't be giving him lunch at my home.
He said this, and I was like, Miles, that's not a thing. Like, fine, she got voted out because she was a threat. She was
because
targeted.
She was twist screwed. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And then she still twist screwed, and then she still made it back in. The dynamic she had with Baden, where they pretty much exchanged their entire game plan, and then like she comes back in, and then just like dominates, and it's beautiful. Where Simon, so where the Brawn have all of the power going into that vote, and then Haley is just like, oh, we're just gonna flip a coin and see what happens, and it just turns them on their head.
Yes,
it's beautiful. And yeah, I loved it. And then her return for Heroes v Villains, like Notorious, the Australian Survivor, we kneecap winners. Like that's what you do. But she made it so deep into the game, got blindsided, absolutely. But knowing who Haley is, she should have been taken out so early. And maybe George had a large part to do with it by keeping threats around and whatnot, but she took advantage of it. And you got to give her credit for it. Again, love.
Miles, you can text me your apology personally. And 9, you have you have Carolyn at 9.
Oh, Carolyn again. Everyone thought she was a complete idiot, and she's not. She's just loud. She just says things as it is, and she did not deserve to be a 0 vote finalist. I'll die on that hill.
This is the take. This is what everyone else is here for. This is a way to learn about me. This is what I should be doing on other podcasts. It's like defend your top 5 favorite players for me and why. It's like that thing with like learn about me in my top 5 TV shows or something. You do learn about people. So 10th, you have Michelle. See, there we learn about things. Interesting.
So Michelle, brilliant social game in God, where did she come back?
Winners at War, yeah.
Yeah, Winners at War. Again, like to navigate her way through the minefield that is Winners at War and to play it so well. And to get to where she got to, you have to give her gravitas for it. Nobody thinks anything of Michelle, and she always gets screwed. And everyone like makes so much comment about being like, she's actually not that good. She's just, like wafting around. She never makes any big decisions. But okay, like she still gets there. She gets screwed over time and time again, and she still rallies and she brings it through. And I think she's the brilliant player because of it. Yeah.
Okay. Well done. What a brilliant segment. I think we learned a lot about you. I think that we really do, because it's like the people that you like and their play style. I can see that you like largely loud, strong women who are like unafraid and very bold. And like, honestly, that's how you played. And I see it. And I honestly think great taste. Love the top 10. It was not in my list of questions, but I'm so glad that we did it. So you applied, as you said, once you got permanent residency in 2023, you applied. And what was that application process like that you got in on your first time?
So much like everything I do, it's very last minute. So the 2024 applications opened up and I'm like, all right, cool. Let's put your Survivor application in. And I looked at it and I was like, oh my God, there's about 20 pages. Great. All right, I'll do it. It's fine. I'll do it. So I had it open as a tab on my laptop for days on end. This tab was open and I keep writing one thing, deleting it, writing another thing, deleting it. And I'm pretty sure the deadline got moved around. I nearly missed the deadline, but it got moved to May 2nd. And I was almost going to be like, no, this is a fool's errand. Like there's thousands of people applying. I'm like a nuffy. Like what really separates me from any of this. Like this is a non-thing. You have your job. You need to actually focus on trying to be a surgeon because, you know, literally your mother will kill you. And then it was May 2nd. I was having dinner with a friend of mine, and we were talking about life. And this was arguably probably the worst period of like my life going into it. Like I just got promoted, and I'd had 6 months of a very, very rough time at work. And then we were talking about life, and my friend was like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, I don't know, man, either like quit or do something. Like I don't think this is good for you. You're like you're in the worst physical state you've ever been, and you've been in the worst mental state you've ever been in. And now, like, what are you going to do with life? And I'm like, I don't know. And then we go back home, and then she looks at my laptop and she sees this Vibe application open. She's like, are you doing this? And I went, it's due at midnight. I can't, like, I have half an hour. Like, what do I do? And then she's like, fill the goddamn thing in. I'm like, it's half an hour. This is going to sound stupid. So I think I did the application in the space of half an hour. And I don't know if I can divulge this information because, so I'll say it and you can cut it out to the end if you need to.
I'm not going to.
So I'm writing unhinged answers now. It's just anything at the top of my mind is just coming out. Like, what are your worst fears? And I was like, I don't know. I was in a potty train, blah, blah, whatever. I was a bedwetter. Everything's coming out now. And I get to the final part, and like, I'm a moron. I should know that there's a video component to this. So it is now 11, I reckon 48 when I come to this part. I'm like, oh crap, I need to do a video now. What do I do? So I'm panicking. I make some like stupid dumbass video on my phone. I'm like, this sounds stupid. I sound ridiculous. I can't do this. This is more of an embarrassment if I submit this. So this is a segue into what I did in high school, and sometimes I did in uni as well. Sometimes when I needed to hand in an assignment and it wasn't really ready, but I needed a bit more time, what I would do is upload a corrupt Word document. And then the next day when, you know, my TA or my lecturer would go, oh, hey, we couldn't load your assignment. I went, oh, I'm so sorry. Let me just resubmit it. My bad. And then I saw that at the end of the application, you could upload a YouTube video or any sort of like MP4 file. So I had my YouTube account. I uploaded a dummy video onto my YouTube account, changed the URL, hit submit, and then the application went through. So I didn't even need a video.
So what was it?
There's nothing. There's no video.
Right. And then what happened?
Well, and then Tuesday I got a call back from someone, one of the producers being like, hey, do you want to have a chat? I think you'll be a really good fit. We'll do a Zoom interview. And I went,
without a video?
No video.
Oh my gosh. People are raging right now. No one's falling asleep to this. People are angry. Okay, and so you never sent in any video?
No video. Yeah. None.
Oh my gosh.
None. I know. God, people are gonna hate me. Anyway. But I think it was just my answers were so unhinged. They must be like, this woman is insane. Great. But yeah, so the application went through Sunday night. Tuesday, I got an email from one of the producers being like, hey, would love to have a chat. Can we do a Zoom meeting? And I went, cool. I'm at work all the way until next week. But look, I think if you call me on Friday, I might be in clinic and I'll definitely get interrupted about 5 times, but let's chat, see what's happening. And then I had a chat with one of these.
Day. It's like dating. It's like you want to seem too keen. So it was like, yeah, maybe call me and maybe I'll answer. We'll see together.
Like, I'm really busy.
Yeah.
Living lives. No. Yeah, and then I had a Zoom interview with the producer on Friday where she was just asking a bunch of questions. And like I was had a break between clinic and whatnot. And I was like, I've got 20 minutes before someone tells me to do something. Go. And I think it was, again, just unhinged word vomit. Yeah, and then after that, there was the final sort of interview in front of the executive producers and whatnot, which was actually quite terrifying. You go into this room and it's just this big camera, and then you've got like DF and Phoebe, the producers, which is the first time I've ever been in front of a camera ever. And I think they really wanted to talk about me being a doctor, and I'm pretty sure I did anything but talk about being a doctor. I think I talked more about playing rugby and working at Macca's, which tended to dominate the large part of that conversation. And then we talked a bit about, well, I work at a trauma center, and I tried to think of it as not as that stressful of a job, but I think it's just I've compartmentalized everything. But I think I told them about my first week as a registrar, where I think I had 3 full spinal cord injuries 5 days in a row. And then all 3 of them just kind of went, "Oh, okay. You're okay with that?" I mean, yeah, it's cool. It's just a stone cold week. It happens. So I don't know. Maybe they thought I was completely unhinged, and that was
Yeah.
it.
They were like, this is a brawny brain, which was kind of the theme of the Brains tribe. So yeah, I mean, definitely I can see why without a video, that's crazy. That really speaks to how much they wanted to cast you. But what at that point were you doing to like prepare to get into the game?
Honestly, like nothing. I I was so I first of all, it was I'm like, cool. If I get on the show, great. I think I fit an archetype of a person you want, which is this, smart player, whatnot, bit of a control freak, but she's got a bit of an edge to it. Like, if you say, 30-year-old Sri Lankan doctor, I don't think the image of me is what comes up. So I think it was like yep, cool, straight shooter doctor, pivot is what I think my calling card was. But I was just terrified of telling my boss. So Survivor was going to happen right in the middle of our job application season, which means that if I was away, I wouldn't be able to apply for a new job for next year. I'd have to pretty much rely on the internal applications for the current job I had. And if you think about it, telling a bunch of surgeons that you're very dedicated towards being a surgeon and your career, and you're really focused, and that's the job you want to do, and then going, oh, actually, I'm going to go on a reality TV show for an undetermined period. Could be a week, could be 8+ weeks. Not too sure. What do you reckon, boss? I was like terrified. I went to tell my boss about it, and like I dithered around it for so long, and then she kind of just went, all right, cool, get it out of your system. And I was floored, just genuinely floored. No one in the history, like I don't think anyone gets time off like this. Like people miss weddings, funerals. And she just said, get it out of your system. If this is what you want to do, just get it out of your system. It's far better to do it now than when you're locked into a training program and you have other things to contend with. Whereas now you're still very junior in your career. And I was honestly flabbergasted. And then I was just so shocked that, yeah. And then like I was so busy, like my work hours were ridiculous. I start at 6:30, I finish at 9. And like I said, I was in a pretty like bad part of burnout. So just like Survivor was just like I was waiting to leave just so I could leave. I was
That was your vacation.
Pardon?
That was your vacation, or Jury Villa at least might have been a vacation, but Survivor it even sounds like was a vacation.
Yeah, like I was just looking forward to it. I was like, just get me out of this. My God, please help me. And I don't think I prepped. Like I said, like I was, and I think maybe it helped because I was probably the heaviest I'd been in quite a long time. So maybe like just from just a sheer sort of bulk perspective, definitely prepped. But then I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to survive a day, let alone 47, but helped in the long run.
Yeah, well, that is amazing. Maybe your boss was a Survivor fan. So she was like, weddings? No, I don't believe in true love, but I believe in Survivor. So I want you to go out and be on TV. That'll be cool.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe she thought I needed a little bit more resilience.
Yeah. She was like, maybe you'll come back and see that being a doctor isn't as hard as other things. And you were like, joke's on you. It's still really hard. So yeah, I mean, okay. So you get to the island and, this Brains tribe is a lot. We see, the coven early, what's going to form with the graduates. So there are a lot of important relationships with you on the Brains tribe. How did you see the initial dynamics and who your first like main relationships were?
Honestly, like I remember arriving on the beach and then we went around into the circle, talked about everything. And mind you, we've also been sort of like clocking each other during all of the pre-production-y stuff. So you've got a vague idea of like who's a little bit familiar, who's a little bit more outgoing, who's willing to do a bit much here. And I was honestly like, I remember going to the corner to like get firewood, and I was just like, shit, I don't relate to any of these people. My God, what do I do? And I panicked. I think it was just this big wave of, whew, oh God, oh God, oh God, how do I do this? I don't relate to anyone. I don't understand any of these people. What am I going to do? I was like, I'm going to get booted. I am so going to get booted hard. And I just panicked. I fully panicked. It was like this big existential crisis moment where you're going, how do I find a friend? What do I do? And then I just went, okay, cool. Okay. All right. What do we do? Let's pick this up. Let's pick this up. You've had a few conversations with Zara. You know, this is good. I saw Rich sort of actively fist bumping all of the big dudes, and I kind of went, okay. There's maybe a big boy dynamic trying to develop. I clocked Laura, and I went, I think I like you. You're personable. Maybe not that big of a challenge threat, but I think I want to work with you. And whenever you have these situations where there isn't a divide, or you want to create some safety for yourself, you create a divide. And when I saw the big boys maybe having a little bit of a bro out, I kind of went, okay, cool. I'm going to create us versus them. And I wanted to work with Laura, and I knew it was too direct going to Laura and being like, hey, let's form a coven. You're a witch. So I put it around, and I talked to Logan first. And we have this chat where we're talking about the girlies, and we're talking about, you know, how we really want to do something moving forward. And I went, I really like Laura. I think she's really cool. And she's like, oh my God, I love Laura too. I think she's great. And I went, yeah, like, yeah. And Logan's going, she's my girl. I love this. And I went, great. You know what? Zara's my girl too. She's great. We think very similar too. And then that's when the coven sort of arrived. And I went, oh, just a group of gals. Oh, the little witches getting together. I'm not going to call it a coven. And then we went, oh, this fits. And then the coven sort of worked. And then I think I was insulated. And then that's it. As soon as we went, hey, there's the four of us. We're worried about the boys. It created the us versus them dynamic that I wanted. And now I'm insulated. I don't have to worry about, you know, being different or having to have people to vouch for me. I've got four girls now. They'll be like, nah, this is it. That's our rock solid. That's a four here. We're going to try and move together. Ooh, cat.
Oh, I love that. Oh my God, you have a cat?
I have a cat.
What's your cat's name?
This is Kibbles.
Oh, Kibbles. Oh my God, I love that your cat is just in the podcast. My cats do that as well. I don't know where they are right now.
We're going to go. No. Down. Ow. Go, get off. Thank you.
That's a cat that wants their moment in the spotlight.
She is. She needs to stop. Sorry.
But no, okay, so where did Ali and Indy fit into the coven? Because we kind of saw Ali montaged in, and then there was like, depending on who you ask, discrepancy about how much Indy was in like the coven dynamic. So how did you see both of them in that?
So the OG coven was the four of Laura, Logan, Zara, and I. That was OG coven. It was purely from the conversation I had where I went, okay, I need a block. I need a block that we can navigate together. And then I wanted to work with Laura. I'd already started working with Zara, and I went, all right, cool, clock it. Let's get this together. So the block of four was the OG coven. And Ali and Indy didn't enter into the conversation until several days later, to be honest. Ali was sort of aligned vaguely with Max and AJ, like they had a thing going. And Ali was also someone that was really sort of vocal. She just went, I want to start the fire. I want to make the rice. I'm going to control the fire. And my tactic was always, I was like, if you're going to be a leader, by all means do it. I do not want to be in the spotlight. Go for it, Ali. And Ali was very sort of staunch about it. I'm doing this. And we kind of went, no. We'll take a step back. You're painting this persona and target on yourself as the provider, the giver, the strongest female on the tribe. And I went, great. I don't want to be a part of that. And I think the coven itself was also kind of like, we want to call the shots and we want to dictate votes, but we don't want to be this perception of us as this, pillar. So that's why Ali was introduced into the coven later on. And as we started sort of gaining a bit more momentum, that's when we had a chat overnight where Indy was brought into the fold. The conversation was had between Ali, Indy, and myself, where we kind of said, "Hey, the boys are kind of irritating us by now. Like this is not working. We don't want the first vote out to be a woman because that's how this works. At every single point in the game, you target a woman because of XYZ. You know, Candy, for example, she was the weakest or the smallest or whatever, and she got targeted immediately. We didn't want the same to be happening on the Bronze Tribe, so we sort of pitched that towards Indy. And then we wanted to include her into the fold. Indy and I had a lot in common. When we were building the shelter, it was only the two of us, honestly, that was building the roof, and we had so much in common. She works in a very male-dominated job as well, so do I. She's a woman of color. I'm a woman of color. We have similar background. She's got, Indian heritage as well. I'm Sri Lankan. There was so much common ground. So I thought, Indy, I'm breaking bread with you. I want to work with you. You're a prickly persona in certain aspects, but so am I. So let's just be prickly together. Just come in. So that's when Indy got brought into the coven. But I would still argue that the coven was just always the four of us.
Where did like the graduate relationships come into that? Because obviously this dynamic is going to shift by the end of this tribe, where you're flipping on the coven with, AJ, Miles, and Kaylin to form the graduates. So were those relationships there in the early days, or did that take a while?
So at the early stages, so I'll give you a bit of context in how like AJ and I started as well, and then a little bit of information that I've gathered from everyone as well. So when AJ wants to get to know you, he will do this sort of like 20 question session where he, just blasts questions at you and then, try to get know you from that account. I don't really respond well to that because my bullshit radar goes high up, and I'm just going, what? I don't buy. I don't know where you're coming from, dude. This is not it. And then one of the first conversations I had with AJ was the 20 question session, and I just went, no. Not my vibe. I don't know where you're coming at with this. I just don't buy this. And this was very early on. I think day 1.5-ish, I reckon. But something about it didn't really sit right with me. And even from my like pre-game notes from just observing anyone, AJ had been sort of one where I went, smiles too much. ? Trust? ? Dating. That was literally one of the notes I had written for AJ. Maybe he smiles too much. And what I'd gathered from the likes of Indy and Laura was that AJ actually pitched my name day 1-ish. So that was already out there. So I think my suspicions were maybe correct, given the man had already pitched me. But then the coven had already formed, and I became insulated, as I said. And day 2 was, I think, when AJ and I started really chatting, mainly because both of us have raging insomnia. Like, we just did not sleep through the first couple of nights, like did not sleep whatsoever, to the extent that it was the only two of us just by the fire having a chat. And that's when we had, I think, our biggest conversation, where the shelter had been built. Everyone sleeping inside the shelter was like Rich, Max, Ali, Laura, Logan. And I kind of went, AJ, what do you reckon the tribe dynamics are? And he's like, oh, I don't know. And I was like, oh, who's sleeping indoors and who's not? Who's sleeping comfortably? Who has the best spots in the shelter? What do you reckon? And that was just my way of feeling around AJ to go, what are you going to take from this? Like, what's going to come at me if I give you this information? And what I got was a lot of information. And we pretty much talked about how we felt about different players, how we thought the tribe dynamics were, where it came up. So we had 2 different vantage points about who was maybe at the center of the tribe. I always thought that Rich was the pivotal player in the middle of that game, mainly because he had strong connections with Kaylin and Max, and also a really good connection with Laura and Logan. if Rich sort of goes out of the equation, these players are a lot more mobile now, especially the likes of Kaylin, who went from literally 20 minutes into being on the beach to coming up to me going, Kaz, you and I final two, to pretty much running off with Rich and not speaking to me for the next 48 hours. And I went, what? This is complete whiplash here. What is happening? But yeah, Rich and Kaylin were super close. Max was super close with Rich as well. And I went, okay, if Rich gets out of this equation, all of these players now become a lot more mobile. AJ had a different idea, which was Logan at the center point of this. He was just like, well, Logan's got a good relationship with Laura. Logan's got a good relationship with Max, Rich, Ali. And he's like, she's the center point. And I went, okay, all right, differing sets of opinion. Let's agree to disagree. We'll figure this out. And I think that's when the sort of Logan pitch sort of started as well. Do you want to go for it? And I went, nah, not now. Because Coven had formed already. And I went, not now. I don't think you've got numbers here. Maybe, but I don't think so. And she's not the correct vote at this point. And in my head, Rich was the correct vote, just to make players like Max and Kaylin a lot more mobile. And it was kind of true, because it came to a point where Kaylin did not want to vote for Rich, would not hear it. It was like going against a brick wall. He would not put that man's name down.
Yeah.
AJ and I, pardon?
No, yeah. Continue on.
So that's when AJ and I sort of started talking quite a lot. And he was in, I don't know, I was wary of him from that conversation, because he pretty much gave me his entire lay of the land, and so did I. And I kind of went, ooh, okay. Spidey senses were kind of correct. In hindsight, obviously, I did not know that he pitched my name earlier on as well. But second of all, I was like, okay, you're a player. You know exactly what's going on. You're reading the board, and you're telling me because now you know that I'm reading the board as well. Okay. Right. I either move ahead with you or I keep you close enough. But it was just, I don't know. I couldn't wrap my head around why couldn't be, yep, AJ, ride or die, let's go for it. And then I think that was the start of it. I had that initial conversation with AJ, and then I approached Zara and went, hey, I reckon AJ's someone we can move forward with. And the initial Rich vote out plan I had that I pitched to Zara, where I was like, hey, is this absolutely nuts? Can we build a vote that goes over the top that included me, her, Miles, AJ, Kent to a certain degree, because I thought he was a mobile player, and then potentially Kaylin. But that was the 5 I thought we could potentially move over the top and pivot. And that ended up being sort of the blueprint for the graduates that formed later on.
Yeah, but that's obviously not where the vote is going to go. The people, it's Miles who's very much on the bottom. Indy is going to kind of, throw the coven under the bus and then make herself a target. Kent is going to do a similar thing about making himself a target. So a lot of kind of the pieces you had wanted were on the bottom, kind of being picked off in that early phase of the first couple of votes.
Because that was sort of my first sort of 48 to 72 hours where I went, I'm not at the top. The top power players are currently looking like the Logans, the Lauras, Rich, Max, Ali. That's the hierarchy here. I'm somewhere here. I'm insulated by Coven. I've got links this way as well, but that's the top. We need to come from here and divest that way. And then obviously the vote happens, which is
Yeah. So Miles was still going to go there. The Rich plan wasn't happening.
No. So Miles was firmly on the bottom, and like I said before, so if we're thinking about that first tribal, the wheels that I'd set in motion with the girls was Rich. I wanted Rich out. I wanted it, and then the secondary goal was I wanted it to be a guy. I wanted that to be it. Mainly because we'd sort of cemented the Coven plus extras into the 6. And if we got over the top, now we've got a voting block that is a majority. And depending on how we want to pivot, we can pivot that block. That's why I wanted that vote to go ahead. Miles, to be honest, hadn't really factored in, and we hadn't talked, and I didn't see him as a huge threat. I didn't really want to target him either. I just hadn't thought of Miles, to be honest. And if he was going to be a first boot, I was like, well, if that's what the crowd wants and the mob wants, let the mob have Miles.
Yeah, but then at the point where Indy's gonna like again screw herself over and like out the coven, I feel like you took a lot of this at the tribal council as well. So like, what was that breakdown like, and how does that like kind of impact your early game?
So, so how that vote sets out is, we finished the immunity challenge, and I'm like, I need to pitch this Rich thing really hard. So I subtly maybe implied to the Logans of the world, I was like, oh, do you reckon Rich threw that? Do you reckon? I don't know. Maybe he threw that. Like, he really wants to get out Miles. Would he throw a challenge to get out Miles, just to sort of push that vote a bit more? And it gained a bit of momentum. So we got to camp, and we're like, all right, Rich, we're going in on Rich. Obviously, Laura wanted nothing to do with that, and she would barrack against it. And then we're having this conversation. There's a lot of conflict about where this vote is going. We're going back and forth. And then finally, as we're literally having this conversation, Rich comes across and goes, oh, I heard that you guys are going to go for me. And I went, what? To which he goes, yeah, you guys are going after me. And then we all switch on and we're like, what? No, never heard that. Where did that come from? And then Rich goes, oh, Indy. And this next sort of sequence of events is all Laura. Laura had so much power there. She wanted to work with Miles. She had a really good relationship with Miles. She wanted to foster that. She wanted to protect Rich. This is now working great for her. And I kid you not, within 10 minutes, she'd gone around the entire tribe and switched it on to Indy. That was all Laura. That's how much power Laura had in that scenario. Ali and I are having this conversation because Indy has outed the two of us, saying these two wanted to go for you. Ali and I are having this conversation now where Ali's like, oh, look, I want to play an honest game. I'm very black and white when it comes to things. If we go to tribal, I'm going to come clean. And I went, absolutely not. I'm going to lie through my teeth. If we go to tribal, I will deny, deflect. I will do everything in my power to make sure that this does not happen. I'll give a version of the truth so it looks like, yeah, of course, the conversations were had. I'm a player. This is what happens. But I was like, I will not let this happen. And to be honest, going into that tribal, I was like, oops, I might be a goner here. Because I was I was the center of it. And then we went in, and then tribal was just a disaster. It was insanity. It went for so much longer than what was obviously edited in, and it was just this back and forth between mostly Indy and I, where I ended out. I was like, Indy, like I thought we had a lot of common ground. To say that I didn't invest in you or didn't say anything to you is completely incorrect. We have a lot of commonality between the two of us. I do feel betrayed in this regard. I gave you this on a platter. And even before we went into tribal, because we knew, I went up to Indy and I said, Indy, what did you do? Why did you go to them? And she's like, oh, I don't know. My back was against the corner. I didn't know where to go. And I went, you go to me. You come back to me. You tell me. Just talk to me. Like, you've known me for 48 hours. I'm not some sort of like hideous beast that you need to be afraid of. But I don't know. But yeah, and then it was very easy. Like, Laura did all the groundwork to switch the vote onto Indy, and then we piled on at tribal. We just went in hard. It was I felt really bad for Indy because it was just a full pile on there. And then Indy went home.
Yeah. How are you feeling about it there? Because obviously, because you created a women's alliance, you did trigger the mechanism that means a woman must go home, which is just part of that. So now you don't have a full, women's majority, and you don't feel necessarily like you're at the top of the tribe. Kent has also been doing stuff with burning the hat, and like, did he out Miles at that tribal council that he not that he outed Miles, but he outed himself having done it to throw Miles under the bus. So how did you see the dynamics here? What were your next steps here?
Honestly, I thought that hat burning thing was just the most ridiculous thing ever. Like, it had, I get burning someone's hat to create a diversion, but Miles is already on the bottom. So you're going to pin it on someone who's already right at the bottom by doing something completely absurd, and then bring it up in a tribal council where you are not the center point at all. Like, you are not even on anyone's radar. And now you've done this to create diversion. No, you don't have any incentive to save Indy. So it's not to save Indy. It's just to create some intrigue around yourself. Rather, I don't get it. And then we like leave tribal. I was good. I felt good about my position within the coven. I know we had disagreements, but I knew the four of us were good. I knew that we could make decisions on the fly depending on whether it was if the coven itself was affected, which is what we did. Two of us were getting targeted as outing and going after Rich, and we went, all right, cool, flip, done, go, reverse. Yes, we did not have a majority going into it, but I'd had good conversations with AJ by then. Zara had talked to AJ by then, and Miles had been talking to Laura. Laura had been telling us about this. So I was like, okay, cool. There are still mobile players in vicinity. I'm like, cool. I'm still in the middle. I'm not at the top. I'm not at the bottom. There's variability that I can work on. Has that tribal now put me more at the forefront, mainly because now I had to speak for myself. And with Rich, I had to say, oh no, I did want a guy to go out. Yes, I did have the conversation where Rich's name was thrown around. It was. I'm sure everyone's name was thrown around at this point. And that's sort of the backpedaling I had to do.
Yeah. So how does it happen then that Kent is just like, were you trying anything else at that point, or is it more just like survival and, you know, the squeaky wheels being taken out?
So the next part of it is sort of realizing that the coven, like as I think most of us have said, I think Zara said, the coven was there. It was more of a protection barrier for each of us, to be honest. It was just a block that we could pivot in any direction. We had loyalties to our players. So I had loyalty to Zara. Logan and Laura had loyalty to each other, and we had sort of maybe an agreement that we'd work together. That was the coven in itself. There was no coven or die, essentially. Right. And then after that vote, I think Zara and I both realized that we need to figure something out, something to get us out of this or into the graduates, essentially. And that's when all of the conversations started happening. Laura's incredibly good at this. Laura's having conversations with everyone now. And I remember I had this one conversation with AJ where I just randomly asked him. This was earlier on in the days as well, where I'm like, oh, hey, who do you want to go for? And then for some weird reason, he just blurted Laura. And I went, oh, okay. I didn't see that coming. And I wanted to create as much division between the Lauras and the Logans and the AJs as I could, because those are the players that I wanted to create my escape raft out of. So I went and told Laura directly. I was like, oh, AJ 3 name out. And then I think from then on, Laura became very suspicious of AJ, and in turn, Logan. And that sort of triggered the mechanism to go into their sort of feud, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
And then going into the Kent vote, Kent was just grating everyone to the nth degree. And yeah, just the Miles Kent dynamic was getting a bit too much, almost. And Kent, for some reason, just thought he had everyone in line, which was weird. There was this there's this one point where he comes up to the group of us girls and goes, hey, I reckon you guys should maybe think about working together. I don't know. I feel like you guys are at a disadvantage. Maybe work together. And all 5 of us just went, okay, thank you. We'll do that. Thank you so much. And then, yeah, the Kent vote was sort of near unanimous. Miles was definitely in the mix as just a dummy split. Just throw it on Miles. Like, it's fine. If he goes home, it doesn't really matter. But the Kent vote was pretty easy to understand. And he also omitted himself from much of the conversation. So,
yeah. I mean, the other targets is like AJ's gone for Logan. Then like they're thinking about going for AJ. I imagine neither of those kind of interested you. And then also there's always kind of like the idea of Rich. So how did you kind of feel about any other plans there, or was it just kind of spoke for itself?
So Zara, but at that point, Zara and I are just going, Rich. Every vote we're like, Rich, please get him. get him. And then it's just barrier after barrier. And it makes sense. So like the Indy vote, Indy was obviously, blowing everything up. Cool. Get rid of it. Get rid of her. And then going into the Kent vote, Kent was also just being a bit of a character, and Kent. So in that regard, the Rich vote made sense as well. And also it was the fact that AJ had now outwardly gone towards voting on Logan, and we needed to now protect AJ in a sense as well. So the diversions needed to be created. I can't remember which episode where is it 3 where AJ goes for?
Yeah, I think so. That was like his coming out episode. Yeah.
Yeah, so AJ goes for Logan at that episode, and like going into that chat, so AJ had pitched Logan to me days before, and it was no, not now, don't do it. And this is how my sort of perception of AJ changed. We're having a chat around the well where he's now pitching the Logan idea to all of us essentially. And I think he made one of the missteps here where he went, "How good would this look?" To everyone, or the tribe and anyone watching the game or the audience. And I don't. It's day 3, bro. I don't really care about what it looks like. I'm about goals here. And that's when I went, okay, so you think about perception. So perception is really important for you. Your motive is not only winning the game, but it's to win with the outward appearance as well. So you want it to look like a good win. You're worried about perception. Interesting. And up until that point, my closest ally is Zara. Zara does not give a shit about what she looks like or how that is Zara. She plays aggressively, she does what she wants, and perception to her doesn't mean anything. She will modulate her behavior and she will titrate accordingly, because that's what you do in a game like Survivor. But with regards to getting what she wants, she will get what she wants. And I respect that. And it was interesting to see that light of AJ where I went, okay. Okay. I clock it. All right, cool. I get it. All right. Interesting. Yeah. And I said, no, I don't want to go for it. Zara didn't want to go for it either. And we're like, no, it's not the time. There are bigger fish to fry. Can we go for Rich? Can we go for these other players? And then AJ goes, okay, I'm going to get numbers. And then we went, okay, who are you getting numbers from? Where are these numbers? He's like, I've got it. And I'm like, okay, who? AJ and Max, not AJ and Max, sorry, Ali and Max. And we're like, okay, no, that's not going to work, because Max is incredibly close to Logan. Ali is in an alliance and very close to Laura and Logan as well. You will not switch those numbers. Those numbers aren't going to switch. And those numbers are not only not going to switch, they're going to snitch, which is what happens. Mm. So the conversation where Ali goes to Logan and Laura and is saying, oh, AJ's, told me this, blah, 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 he's going after you. What's not shown is I join in that conversation as well. And Logan goes, hey, have you heard this? And I went, what? Oh, did you know that AJ's pitching my name? I was like, oh, I mean, AJ said that he wants to go and do something big, but he said he was gathering numbers. I have no idea what the numbers are, but, and Logan went, okay, great. Fire and brimstone, we're scorched earth. We're getting him. And this was the thing. I was always holding those 2 spinning plates where I'm trying to build something with AJ and the graduates coming up, but I'm also trying to keep my connections with the coven, because they are giving me so much information in this regard. The fact that Rich potentially wants to go for Ali and I, all of this is coming in, and Logan and Laura are actively blocking any of that from happening. So I was like, it is not in my incentive to stop this at all. So it is playing double agent in a regard where I'm absolved of sin, going, oh, maybe I've got enough connections to maybe filter information about votes coming your way from AJ and Miles, because I think they talk to me, but I still need to maintain this position here. And unfortunately, like AJ sort of going around made it difficult, because I'm like, I'm trying. I really want to work around this, because you're smart. You are incredibly smart. You see the board. I want to work with you, but I really need you to maybe back it up a bit. And that's that I think that is the sort of recurring theme for AJ and my relationship, I suppose.
Yeah, we definitely see that. I mean, I'm going to dive in after this. We see that after Kent goes, to a degree, I mean, Zara, we see approach Miles and AJ about a vote that's going to go to the non-elim, but you wanted Rich out. You're pushing Rich with the coven. It felt like you were going to get that. We know now that Laura was going to vote out Rich, and that kind of takes it to a 5-5. And then Zara's bringing over like a Miles and an AJ for like a kind of what would have been like maybe a bit of a soft launch of the graduates without Kaylin, but like, you know, the wheels are in motion where it's, you know, other kind of relationships we're seeing work across the aisle from what we had seen at least of the coven. So how did you see the dynamics here leading into what would have been this Rich vote that went into a non-elim instead?
So the Rich non-elim bomb squad launch, I hate that episode. Miles is actually pivotal in this part, and to a certain degree. So after the Kent vote, I remember going to Miles and going, Miles, I think we've chatted a bit about life and whatnot, but I don't think we've had a strat chat. I don't think we've done this. Let's do it. And then I had this conversation with Miles, and Miles gave me so much input about what was happening across the board with this now bomb squad as well. So going into that non-elim, I actually knew the bomb squad existed because Miles gave me all that information, mainly because he wanted to work with Zara and I, and he thought the best way moving forward to create the graduates for himself was to give all that information to us. So going into that tribal, I know that something is gonna go afoot because Miles has given me that information. And it's hilarious, that tribal, because AJ is whispering furiously into Miles, and Miles is like this, looking across the tribe at me, just going, no, it's not me. No, please no. I don't have anything to do with this, and actively blocking this bomb squad thing from occurring, because Miles has done so much groundwork now. He's come from the bottom. He's now made really good inroads with Zara and I. He's given me information to the degree that I trust Miles now. I went, cool, you're giving me information. Now I'm seeing it appear in front of me, and you've told me about this. I know the direction of this vote now. You've pretty much promised me that we're going to go over the top regardless. He's going to vote for Rich. It does not matter whatever vote comes across. The coven's going to vote for Rich as well. And also, this is to Miles' credit, he's also given, I'm very sort of blunt and head on. And that's not the way you want to speak to players like Kaylin. And Miles went, Karin, you can't go at Kaylin head on. Just sort of maybe nudge around the corner, maybe give him a hug. And also, don't scare him with strat. And I went, okay, cool. I won't scare him with strat. And he'd be like, less mafia head tilt. I'm like, what mafia head tilt? Like, you do this. You look at someone and then you do the head tilt. It's your scary face. I'm like, okay, fine. Less scary face. Okay, cool. Thank you, Miles. So that was the soft launch of the bomb squad, which is the dumbest name ever. And soft launch of the graduates. And going into that, I think I trusted Miles hell of a lot more than AJ, mainly because AJ didn't tell me what the bomb squad was, or didn't tell me that this was afoot at all, whereas Miles had. And I've gone, okay, one of you has told me everything, one of you has not. Ipso facto.
Yeah. Well, at this point, like, you had wanted Rich out. It looks like you were going to finally get your way, and instead it's a non-elim where you send Rich to the other tribe. So what was the kind of perspective there?
The perspective there is AJ pitches to send himself across, and there was not a chance in hell we're sending AJ across there. It's just, no, not it. We've seen exactly what type of player he is. I knew I think it wasn't just me. I'm not the most perceptive one. Logan knows this as well. Ali knows it. Everyone knows this. We are not sending AJ across. And this is perfect for Laura because she gets the best of both worlds, where Rich still exists but is far away from everything. But she celebrates a little bit too much during that tribal. She was ecstatic. And I kind of went, okay, all right, okay, this is not it. You're good, but you're not as good. I had a good relationship with Laura, but I just went, this is not it. Which is why once we've got Rich out of the picture, we've completely broken up the structure that is now the Laura, Logan, Max, Rich, power hierarchy that existed at the top. And now we've got the undercurrent of the graduates that have full incentive to work together now. We've got Rich out of the equation. He still exists, but the graduates can now take control here.
Yeah, even when people get voted out, they still exist. I mean, it's not important, but they're not on the show, but like they don't die. But yeah, I mean, so Rich is on Brawn and he's going to get some sort of advantage. So I guess that is the concern? And then what are the relationships with the graduates? Because this is when the graduates form. But just to recap, like you're super tight with Zara. AJ has been sketching you out a little bit. Miles was someone who was at the bottom for a long time, but has earned your trust. And Kaylin is someone that apparently they were like, you're saying, you know, some communication, you know, issue. So this is going to be the graduates. Like you have a tattoo of the graduates now. This is going to be like the alliance, you know, with the name, and you're going to say the next tribal council, it's time to graduate. Like this was a big moment. But did you feel like the relationships were locked in? Because this is going to be important too, going through the swap with someone like an AJ. Like did the social connections, was the basis there enough for the graduates for you? Or was it really that mutual incentive where like those people on the top and we're left over, if that makes sense?
So like I said, Miles and I had cemented that relationship from the whole bomb squad diatribe. AJ and I had this, and then Kaylin was sort of the person that I'd gone from a final 2 pitch to radio silence for 2 days, and I just couldn't figure out where this gameplay was coming from. And when AJ initially was pushing the Logan agenda across, he went, "Oh, actually, this was also Kaylin's idea. Kaylin actually told me about this first." And I went, "Okay, great. Kaylin can come explain that to me. I want to hear it from him. Like I haven't strategized with this man. Let me hear it from him." And it's on camera, but it was never shown. Zara and I are having a conversation to Kaylin where Kaylin's trying to explain why Logan needs to go. And in the space of about 10 minutes, he forgets Logan's name. He forgets Laura's name. He forgets the direction of the vote. And I'm perplexed because I was like, what did you had a plan to get this person out, but you forgot her name 3 times during the conversation we had, then forgot the voting split you wanted. I no longer believe that this was a pitch that you thought of and is trying to push, and you made AJ believe that this is the agenda you want to push. Okay. Right. I don't see this. And then AJ comes across and goes, "Did he explain it?" I was like, "No, he cooked it." And he went, damn. And then again, going into that non-elim vote, Kaylin said, "I'm not writing his name now. I will not do it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it." And I'm like, oh God, this is an impenetrable barrier at this point. But I liked Kaylin. Kaylin, again, just like Kaylin. And we both come from a rugby background. We have similar veins of thinking. And it's very easy to get along with him. So from a strategic standpoint, I didn't see that going forwards because mainly I hadn't seen it, and I just tried to make him explain something to me, and then I just gotten nothing back. And I went, okay, but where AJ trusts Kaylin, Miles trusts Kaylin, they have now vouched for him. Great, this is fine. We can go ahead. This makes sense. The incentive for us to work together is there. There are definitely cracks in here, for sure. And then looking back is really funny where AJ's explaining to Miles, being like, "Yeah, I really trust Zara, and Karin exists somewhere. It's fine, maybe." But like, yeah, we're incentivized to work together. It just makes no sense for us not to. We're sort of the stragglers in that regard, but it like once Rich gets out of the equation, there is no valley. We're not working together.
Yeah. And also, to be fair, working together, like it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like at the point where you're doing that and you get this alley vote that's going to go through, like that's bonding, I'm sure, in and of itself. So obviously the concern is that Max is going to have this advantage where he sends you and Laura out of the tribal council. Had it been you and, you know, AJ, that would have been like a tricky situation for Miles, but he doesn't know that the graduates exist and he sees it as like bomb squad versus coven. A couple of things here, like what created the alley target for the graduates at the point where Rich is gone? I mean, Allie was someone that they were even like the other side were willing to part with, and she's not described as much of the power structure at the top. Obviously, you're close to Laura and Logan, but like someone like a Max as an example, was there kind of anything there? What made Allie the target? Obviously, she had gone to the other tribe and like talked about the coven. What was the kind of thinking behind what's going to be this vote? And obviously the fear that if 2 of the graduates are sent out, you don't technically have a majority through this tribal council.
So Ali, again, with most of the players that I tried to form a connection with or talk to, I tried to find some sort of common ground, mainly because I didn't find any at the start. So I just try and mirror aspects of their personality or what. And to be honest, I would find common ground. And Ali and I are similar age bracket, similar navigations through life as well. But what came very sort of blatantly obvious was that she was very black and white with her decision making. I do not function under those regards as well. I'm very shades of gray. And when it came to certain votes, she was very black and white as well. And when she went on that reward challenge and came back and told us this information, she thought she was doing us a favor. And we were shocked because she said, I said, you guys are the greatest. You are like, the closest allies you could ever do. They will like do anything for you. They are a solid block of 5. And I went, no, deal. Why would you, what? And then now I've now got a player that's not only black and white, but is also maybe fundamentally unaware of how these dynamics work as well, which now becomes a dangerous player that you can't really navigate with. And what was also obvious was that I think Ali really wanted to go across to the Brawn tribe. Even when we're doing the non-Olymp, she wanted to go there as well. And she felt really at home with the Brawns. So I think she wanted to pivot out of it too. So again, another player that's just dangerous from that regard. And then the blow up with AJ happened. And I think that really turned us all off, Ali, because it was like, look, AJ irritates me beyond belief. Like there's, episodes worth of that now on display. But that interaction between Ali and AJ was just not it. It went on for so long. I remember Laura trying to break it up and then just getting screamed back at her. And then we're like, oh, okay, this is not it. And then when AJ came back and said, nah, I'm done with her. We're going. We're like, cool, man. Yeah, done. Sweet. We 100% back you for it. Like, I don't even care if it's not a strategic thing. We'll do that for you because that makes no sense. That's not anything we want around. Like Logan blows up and goes from 0 to nuclear in 0.2 milliseconds, but she simmers down. Then she goes, okay, I had to flip out. Whereas that was just on and on and on. And yeah, that was it. We're like, not done. Cool. Not like there was no one was losing out from that regard because now I've established that you're a black and white player. You can't necessarily be trusted with information. You don't have much of a read on the game either. And now you've, taken a very large jab at AJ, which we didn't appreciate. So made sense.
Yeah. But then what was the fears around that advantage being used? And you yourself are sent out of tribal council with Laura, but you were excited about it. You're like, this is a great group. This is good. It's like been left with a 4-person graduate majority. So, I mean, you weren't there, but you were able to win the vote without being there.
I had complete blind faith in that graduate alliance. It was such a perfect scenario where none of us were caught talking to each other. We did not talk as a 5 at all. It was sort of pockets. AJ would talk to me, I would talk to Miles, Zara would talk to AJ, etc. So we did not really lock in as a 5. It was just enough conversations going around. And Max initially said he's going to take AJ and himself out of the equation. We went, great, perfect combination, go for it. And then he started pitching Zara and my name around. And that sort of was worrying because we went, oh God, that's the worst scenario. Worst case scenario is 2 graduates get taken out of the picture. However, Logan wants to push that Miles vote. To be honest, Logan wants to push that AJ vote as well. Logan wants AJ out at this point, and Max now holds the power. So the only compromise is to try and get Miles out of the picture. And she pitches really hard, pitches so hard for him to not take AJ out and maybe, take someone else out, take her out of the equation and whatnot. And I still believe Max wanted this to be this big extravaganza show where he goes in and is just the big deciding swing that decides the fate of the tribe, essentially. And Miles is at his beck and call and whatnot. And he could also destabilize the girls completely and take out Allie as well. And I think Max was also sort of turning on Allie in that regard too. What I find out from Laura later on when we get sent back, which Laura said that Max, I think, wanted to go ahead with me in the future, that potentially what they were thinking about going forwards, if Allie or a Miles gets out of the picture, was they would maybe inroads with me. Laura and I have a very honest conversation where Laura goes, look, right now within this sort of girl group, the only two people I care about are probably Logan and you. And then I went, great, I kind of only care about Zara and you. And then we both go, I see problems. And I couldn't understand why I got sent. Like I went, you're protecting me, what are you doing? And then Laura kind of went, I think he's trying to make a peace offering here. He wants the two of us to have a conversation. He wants us to sort of break bread, share information, and he also wants to show you that he's willing to protect you in that regard and that he wants to move ahead with you. Max and I think hadn't really strategized much coming up to it, but we'd had a few personal chats here and there. And we got along vaguely well, not amazing, but which is why I kind of went, oh, okay, cool, right, I'll take it. So that was sort of the other explanation that Laura provided as well. But yeah, going into it, I was genuinely scared that Zara and I were going to get taken out. And look, we did have the fallback of the coven, technically, if that were to go completely awry. And if AJ was close to Max, maybe we can hustle up something as well. If AJ still exists, Kaylin still exists, there are still routes to take if the graduates completely combust with Miles getting sent out.
Yeah. Yeah. And AJ said he might have played an idol as well. I mean, to be fair, it's not like it wasn't luck of Max just screwing up. I mean, that was in its way lucky, but the main point is that the graduates were so hidden that Max didn't understand the dynamics of what he was playing because the graduates had done so much well. And he sees the relationship with Laura and Miles, in trying to take out Miles, he takes out Laura without realizing like there's an actual group here that will protect Miles, like more than maybe Laura would have to like maybe let him go. So I think as well, like he's seeing it as like Coven bomb squad. Like it was all wrong, which was a credit to how well the graduates had done. In winning that vote. So that was a massive vote. Huge vote that's going to like define the graduates. What do you think would have happened next if you had your way? If you don't swap, where do you think that goes once the graduates have won and Allie is sent out?
Laura goes next. Mainly, so even going into that Allie vote, Miles has a conversation where he's like, we can take anyone out. Like if you want to take a stab at Laura, if you want to take a stab at Logan, we can go there as well. And there's a brief conversation where Zara and I go like, Allie doesn't, sure, getting Allie out is sort of just getting a common target out. But if we really want to make a big swing, the obvious targets are the Lauras and the Logans. We could probably do Laura, to be honest. And then Zara and I have the conversation where we go, should we target Logan? I'm like, no, Logan's an obvious target. Laura's the power here. Honestly, we should probably get rid of Laura. She's already working with Miles. She's got good connections everywhere. She's got Rich on the other side as well. And I think people didn't realize how Laura as a sole entity had so much power in that pre-Brains area. It's testament to her that she can switch votes around like that, and she had such good connections. She had a good connection with me to the extent I would have maybe tried to protect her as well, but I understood what a threat Laura was. So Laura was an option at that vote, but yeah, definitely after the graduates had formed, Laura was next.
So getting to the swap instead, you have these, interesting relationships where you've worked with Kaylin, you've worked with AJ, not with Rich. Rich is, you're here with Rich and he's been your bugbear. And then you have the relationship with Logan, even if she wasn't part of that graduate alliance. And then you're going to have 4 Brawns as well in Kristen, Ursula, Paulie, and Noonan. So how are you kind of looking at the dynamics here? Well, if you had your way, like what did you really want to happen in this like short term of the swap?
So my sumo at sea challenge was when I had a chat to Ursula. So the conversation I had there with her was, where are you on the tribe? And she went, bottom. And I went, who are you with? And she went, oh, PD, Kristen. And that's where we have the exchange where I said, look, if you need a number, get him. This is the opportune moment for you to figure that out. And then I'd already established she's on the bottom. She's got these 2 links. So when we go into swap, I figured I'd, already had some traction with Ursula, got to know Kristen, and then I went, okay, cool. Kristen and Ursula are somebody I can move ahead with. Paulie and Noonan were interesting. I got along with Noonan. Paulie, just from the start, the way he spoke, the way he pitched, he can charm the hind legs of a donkey, and that always, worries you. So I think my opportune movement would have been Caleb, Logan, AJ, Ursula, Kristen, potentially, if we could split up the brawn. And we realized easily we very much could, because the Ursula Noonan dynamic was blatantly obvious from the minute we landed on that beach. The back and forth commentary, Ursula just going, I'm on the bottom. Noonan doesn't like me. And then Noonan's reactions as well. We went, okay, right. You two will not work together. And this is great. Because if you two are gunning for each other and you two will do everything in your power to gun for each other, now you two are out of the equation. And now all we have to do is pit you two against each other. And this is perfect. Now we've got movement. So this is where I have to give AJ a lot of credit. AJ will talk to everyone individually, in a group, any scenario. He will get his claws in and he will do it rapidly, effectively, and efficiently. I pick my people. I pick people who I think I can move along with, who I vibe with, and then I sort of make my investments. And I was slow on that regard. AJ worked very quickly. And he got his people. He essentially amassed his troops. And I think then he started this sort of multi-stage plan to, I don't know. I think what I've been told from the Brawn opinion is that he pitched Logan initially. Logan was the pitch, and then Rich threw a spanner in the works and made the move about him. So the move pivoted back to Rich. But I think
made
AJ
the move about Rich made the move about Rich or about AJ.
Oh, yes, I'm saying targeting Logan.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I think AJ wanted the perception of having that vote be his complete dominating control. I think, and it was to a certain extent, no, to a complete extent. So I don't know if Logan would have gone out had Rich just been like, cool, let's go ahead. And AJ knew exactly how I worked. I was ready to bury the hatchet to work in a majority with Rich, but dear God, did I want to make a swipe at him. Like, I will use any excuse. And I think even in that challenge, Rich had come up to me and said, Kaz, let's just make peace. And I went, yeah, dude, hatchet, ground, good. I'll put it aside. And as soon as AJ, flipped the switch and went, he's going after you. And I'm like, yeah, cool down. Hatchet's back. Hatchet is back. Hatchet is back. Get him. Let's get him. And that scramble was insane. There was names flying across everywhere. AJ talking to that group, getting that Logan name across. And then he comes back to me and goes, no, he's going after you. And then I went, great. We are no longer targeting Paulie. We are going to target Rich. Great. What do you want to do? And he goes, I'll go talk to Kristen and Ursula. You talk to Paulie and Noonan. I went, great. I'm going to do that. I walk across to Paulie and Noonan. I said, all right, we've got a 5-4. Tomorrow we can make a 4-4. You guys are very keen to make new connections, new relationships. We start afresh tomorrow. Blank slate. We form the relationships we want to form. No one has their tribal lines anymore. We start anew. Tomorrow there's no tribal lines. It's a 4-4 now. This is the peace offering. What do you reckon? And then they went, yeah, cool, sorted. And then it's a really cool moment where I'm having this conversation here. I look across at AJ. AJ looks back at me, and then he goes, and I'm like, great, done, sorted. And then the Rich vote happens.
But you knew that the Brawns would never work together, so you still had that majority of Brains.
Yeah.
And it's a good Brains group for you then, because you had your own, like, best for you of anyone, because like AJ and Logan aren't close, but you've been with Kaylin, you've been with AJ, and you've been with Logan. So like now it's a good group and you have new options. So, and you get Rich out. Worked
Yeah.
out pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah, because and Logan and I'd already pitched to Kristen and us being like, you know, we've been a part of a girl alliance. We've made a girl majority. Like, we like strong women. You two clearly are incredibly strong women. This is an option as well. So that layer of relationship had already been built. And again, Miles criticizes me heavily for it, but I strongly am a middle player. I maneuver well in the middle. It's all about relationships and pivoting positions. That's what I'm good at. And that's what I've done all up until that mark. And the Rich vote was perfect.
Yeah. I know you're going to be like super close with Kaylin. Like by the end, like Kaylin's so core to that. And you talked in your exit interview about like how you had, you know, assumed you had Kaylin. And I know that he was really close with Rich and was kind of made more movable by Rich going. So did that relationship like ramp up now through this phase?
Yeah, it was really hard for Kaylin to make that vote. But so Kaylin's voting history is very much, if you work with me, we're good. If you betray the group, the dynamic, then you're no longer, I no longer care about you, which is what Rich did. Rich went for Logan first, and therefore now good. You're, open season on Rich. And then Kaylin did become more movable now. I had really good conversations with Kaylin. It was just, we didn't talk strategy. Like there were conversations we had about moving forwards. And then we talk about potential targets. Logan and I were talking to him about potentially going on AJ, but as we understand, hard block on any sort of AJ votes as well. And we were incredibly close. We would, wake up every morning together. We'd go for swims together. I'm pretty sure we were doing this weird like wrestling thing in the morning where I'm pretty sure he had me in a headlock once, but it's all fun and game friendly, I swear. But we just didn't talk strategy. And I think that was my mistake. I think I had that one interaction early on and I went, I don't know what to pitch to you because everything I pitch at you is getting blocked. What do I do here? And and to his credit, I did not think he was a strategic threat at all. He was a social player. I knew that. He was a physical player. I knew that. Strategic, I did not think, because he was just, he was doing it really well. He was just playing dumb.
So, okay, we're going to get to the hostage stuff now. So what was your perspective on this? Because, AJ said you were part of it, but also that things were kind of building up in your kind of annoyance on this. What did you think about the hostage plan, which he was doing, to be fair, to try help like the Zaras of the world? So that's important. Zara, Miles, particularly Zara. He thought, Petey would switch over. Kristen was giving that information that seemed at the time accurate. The pitfalls and Max might swap over, which he did. So where did you kind of see this plan here that AJ was kind of putting his hand up for?
So the first 2-ish days, 48 hours of Brawn 2.0, AJ and I really didn't speak too much. We had that one interaction going to the Rich vote, and there was really not much. But I knew what he was doing in the periphery. When I was away from AJ, what I was trying to build was my relationship with Kristen and Ursula, because I wanted to work with those two. Ursula and Kristen had said, I'm really close to PD. I think PD doesn't want to work with that Brawn majority. And I went, okay, interesting. So when we go into that coconut challenge where we're knocking coconuts off and the things are getting pulled out, I jump off first. And then Ursula follows. And then Ursula and I are having a chat about, future progressions. And I went, look, let's try and build something across the lines here. You tell PD, save Zara and Miles. Save Zara and Miles. We build something across the lines. Save Zara and Miles. So in those intertribal chats, Ursula and Kristen, that's what they were saying. Save Zara and Miles. This is what we want to go moving forwards. We hit the beach. And then obviously that previous tribal, Urs had thrown a vote out on Noonan unnecessarily. It was going to be a complete dump, but that unnecessary vote went on Noonan, and that kind of just went, oh, I can't do this. That was my hesitation around Ursula, because I went, this wasn't a crunch time vote. This was not like a 4-3 split or like a close 1 vote split. But you threw an errant vote. God forbid this was a close, and you are still doing errant pot shots. Really, pot calling kettle black coming from me about pot shots.
Yeah.
But when it
you
comes
just
to
think about it. You're not doing it though. That's different. Okay, we can talk about it, but it's different to put pen to parchment.
yeah, exactly. Pettiness in practice. Anyway, and that sort of threw me about Ursula. With regards to Noonan has a really good strategic mind as well. And I went, okay, I can move across with you, Noonan. You and Ursula are never going to work together, so this is great. Now there's a split. Ursula and Kristen are going to work together. Paulie and Noonan are on one side. I don't really trust Paulie. And he's the only one that's trying to corral troops. He's the only one going around being like, Brawn strong, majority, let's do this, let's pitch that. Albeit the pitches were incorrect to AJ and I especially, but he's still trying. He's got that gumption, he's got that fight in him, and he will keep doing it. And I don't really want active players. You want passive players that you can maneuver around, or active players that will work with you. So AJ and I have our first conversation, and we go 3, 2, 1. Who do you want to get rid of? And then both of us went Ursula and Paulie together, just straight off the bat. I went, okay, great. Why? And then I give my sort of reverse hostage plan. And I went, okay, why don't we give it as a peace offering? We get rid of Paulie, and then we go, hey, we're in a majority now. We can continue to get rid of Brawn, but we will keep your girl safe, oh no, Ursula goes, but we'll keep Kristen safe. Kristen is your girl. We'll keep her safe. And that was the pitch. And then AJ went, now let's hold them hostage, which was the reverse, being like, all right, make them throw. And then we do the reverse psychology of it. And that's when we went, yeah, okay. I get it. Yeah. I see the logic in it. Because the plan was essentially make them throw the first challenge, get rid of someone like a Max or Laura, and then just steamroll. And just once we establish that we've got enough numbers to get to merge, we'll just systematically throw everything going forward. And I think the voting order at that point would have been somewhere like the AJ, Kaylin, and I were obviously the trio there. The next person on that hierarchy would have probably been Kristen, and then Kristen Noonan, to the extent that we would have sacrificed Logan if it came to that point as well. So yeah, the hostage plan, at the start, I was in on it. The thing is, AJ and I play very differently. AJ's very sort of aggressive. Let's go straight for the top, take scalps, make everyone aware of it. I wanted to be a covert hostage plan or some form of organized chaos. AJ is correct in his read saying that I do like a bit of shit stirring. It's just in my sort of nature to do it. But I need it to be contained. It can't just be this, atomic bomb of an explosion. I need to try and contain it as much as possible, which is why when he announces it, I'm just going, oh, no. Okay. And it works. So I'll give him credit for that, to a certain degree. But that's kind of went, okay, we had a plan. You sort of now threw it to the wind. Okay, great. And yeah, yes. In short, I knew about the the hostage plan.
Yeah. So your initial kind of thought was like a protection plan where it's like we're protecting the Kristen and Ursula's PD, you protect our people on the other side. Yeah. And then it became a hostage plan that you wanted to be maybe a bit more covert, like that, the Brawns go to the other side and are like, hey, help us, which AJ said, he was doing as well, but you don't want it like on the mat being like yelled in front of everyone.
Yeah. Like I don't know. There was maybe a bit more finesse around it. AJ says that maybe what if we announce it together? And I went, to be honest, I don't know. I do love a bit of the theatrics, as we later discover. So maybe if we both sort of went, we're walking you off the plank.
Yeah.
Hold
That's less
hands.
threatening. Yeah, we're
Yeah,
all doing it.
we're all doing it.
Yeah.
In it. I don't know. But that's when this is your favorite challenge, isn't it? The boat.
Yeah, well, before that is when Ursula goes. So that had been at the point where you felt like you were put off by Ursula throwing the pot shot, even though you had wanted to work with her and Kristen. Yeah.
And the Ursula vote made sense, to be honest. And the other important caveat was that because AJ had made himself more of the pillar in that situation, that's also why I took a backpedal, because I wanted to work with Kristen. I really wanted to work with Kristen, and now he's gunned for her closest ally currently at Swap. So I went, okay, you do that. That's great. Now you've taken a swipe at Kristen. I haven't. I'm just a secondary party. AJ, take all the blame. Please take all the blame. All of the blame goes to you. I'm vaguely absolved. I can continue working on my relationship with Kristen. And I had a very good relationship with Kristen. It was slightly hilarious that the two closest relationships I had in the game were with the 43-year-old women, which is weird. But Kristen is essentially me in 10 years. She's, again, doesn't want to get married, doesn't want to have kids. Like, she's navigated through all these wonderful adventures through life. And the more I talked to Kristen, I was like, dude, you're me. Great. And I really wanted to foster that relationship with Kristen. And I needed to create as much separation from AJ in that regard as well. I wanted to be the stability. I wanted him to be the chaos. So my gameplay altered from that regard. I went, all right, cool. I need to be solid, conservative. I need to be very decisive in what I say. And that's when my GPT slander also started. Because I went, okay. Because Kristen would be like, oh, he said this to me, it's this to me. Noonan comes across, he said the same thing. And I went, well, there you go. And that's when, because they were actually quite close to me, I just find all these different variants of AJ's plans coming back to me. And it all sort of reinforced this recurring theme in my head where I went, I cannot trust him fully. Like, he's got plan J. So
so that was that challenge where they throw the challenge, and he announces it, and Zara's on the mat like, what about us? Amazing challenge. Not as much for you. I feel like you were under pressure there. You weren't.
Oh my god. So, like, for someone that plays ball sports, the amount of my friends that replied after that went, my god, that was atrocious. I went, I don't know what to do. It just didn't work. But so that challenge is super interesting in how it played out to how it was edited and cut. So I'm desperately flinging a ball and it's not landing at all. And finally I get it. And the Brain 2.0 are all there. And I'm having a chat with Jesse, Ben, and PD, where I'm telling PD, I've got Kristen, just save Zara. And he's like, look, I'm close with Zara. I think I can keep her through the next couple of votes too. Unsure about Miles, but I think I can keep Zara. And I'm like, great, perfect. And then Jesse's talking to me, being like, you getting rid of this guy? This guy's insane. And I went, look, I'll try my very best. I'll try and get rid of him. Like, I don't really want to work with him long term. I'll try. And he's like, yeah, dude, do it. And I went, cool, great. So I'm trying desperately now to build this cross tribal thing. PD was the linchpin in that plan. And now I've realized that PD's just told me that he's really close with Zara. And I went, great, that's good. You're close with it. And I'm telling you, I've got Kristen here as well. We're having this conversation while they're still looking for idols. And then Kristen and I go, oh, maybe you should go look for an idol as well. So we run across, we're digging around everywhere. Kristen finds the idol, and she's wearing skin tight lycra, and the poor girl tries to hide this idol desperately. I'm watching this because she's directly in front of me, and I'm like, Kristen, you're not doing a really good job. Let me help you. Look, I've got like very sort of billowy shorts. Do you want me to help? And I'm like, just crouch. Let's figure this out. Let's try. And I know this is a fool's errand. This is not going to work. Someone's going to see us. But I needed it to look like I'm trying to help Kristen. I really needed to look like I'm putting myself out there. I'm trying to help you. I want to keep this item hidden for you. And then Noonan does the beautiful thing of calling her out, which is great. Now we've got more division as well. And then later on, Kristen comes back and goes, thank you so much. I really appreciated that. Thank you for like trying to help me. Like clearly I can't even trust my own tribe to not divulge information. Like I know it was going to be a public idol, but you tried. And this is this like the thing, Kristen's learning the game. She didn't realize at that time that this was going to be a public idol regardless. But this was a perfect opportunity for me to go, again, look, I'm a solid person. I will be with you. I will stick up for you. I will be solid. So that was the dynamic. That was why that challenge was super important, because now I've got information about the other tribe. Kristen's got her public idol. I've tried to help Kristen. Noonan's now taken another shot at her. There's no chance in hell of them working now. Great. We're great. Unfortunately, Brain 2.0 are now going to tribal. AJ's feeding information to them saying vote for Mercs for Max as well. I'm also actively saying that when I'm, struggling to throw that ball and failing miserably. I don't know how much influence that had. It's very hard to say. Like, I think we both said the right things to Brains, and then it ended up that Max went home. But I don't know. I don't know how much influence that had. Mainly because I think Miles was very, very close to going home had he not had that idol. But the confirmation bias, I suppose, we come back the next day, Max is gone, and we're like, great, we've sorted this out. Wonderful.
Well, I mean, at that point, AJ is going to reverse course to start throwing challenges himself. Were you on board with that as like because now that Max is gone, PD's not come over, so that was plan A, and that didn't work. And Miles had an idol. So
that was the plan. As soon as they threw, and we got rid of one of their numbers, we were just going to throw. Like the throwing was a systematic plan between all of us. I don't think we told everyone. Kristen knew, I knew, Logan knew, Kayla knew, Paulie and Noonan not so much. But yeah, we were going to throw. We were all throwing.
Yeah. So you said Noonan might be above Logan, but Noonan's about to go home. Was it just that you had to split on Paulie and Noonan? Was it the Paulie target that makes me? Because this is a big tribal council. This is a split that goes wrong. AJ's going to play his own idol, which you did not enjoy. And obviously your relationship after that seems to have, massively fractured. And yeah, Noonan, after the challenge throwing, is going to go home on this, kind of messed up split. So what kind of made the target there?
So the thing I try to practice is if I have someone that's going on a split, or like I can't really control the vote for, and I know there are going to be votes dumped on them, I made an active attempt to tell them the direction of the vote. I was like, look, I don't have a control on this. I think there are going to be votes that land on you, but I'm telling you the direction of the vote. And I made an active attempt at every point to tell Noonan the direction of every vote. I was like, I'm not lying to you. I am telling you I am solid. I'm telling you the direction of the vote. There is a split. It's on you. Make the choice. You can, if you've got an advantage, if you've got something. I've now for three votes. Yeah, Rich, Ursula. Oh yeah, Rich, Ursula. Yeah, coming into third one. I've told you the direction of every vote. That's where it's gone. You've seen duplicitous action from AJ multiple times now. You haven't seen it from me. So if I couldn't control the direction, I made an active attempt to tell the person that was going to get caught in the crossfire, this is where it's coming, and you're getting the information from me. Noonan was not a target. Paulie was always a target. And we wanted to keep Noonan. As much as we can, we wanted to keep Noonan. And then it was the scramble that scrambled everyone. Kristen wanted to vote for Noonan, so we gave Kristen that vote. Kellen was going to go on Noonan as well, and it was going to be what was the split? 3-2.
3-2-2. But it became a 4-1-2, but then Paulie made it a 4-2-1, and also AJ had an idol.
Yeah. And it was that mid-scramble conversation where Paulie's there, and then the vote gets confused. Kaylin nearly outs it, and we're going, oh, no, what's happening? And then tribal happens, and that tribal was super heated, mainly because Paulie and Noonan came out swinging at AJ, pretty much going, he's lied to you, he said this, he's that, he's done that. And to a large part, I think I refuted most of that as well. I went, no, that's not what happened. I knew the direction of that as well. I knew this, blah, blah, blah. So I'm refuting everything here. They're throwing all of that information out just to try and discredit AJ. And that was never going to happen. We were always going to stand by AJ regardless. At that point, he was becoming a very good shield for me. I'm still working with him. I'm gathering enough information for me to make me distrust him, but it's just irritating me that I have to keep doing this. And yeah, the idol got played, and yeah, look, I'm petty. I just can't. AJ, I've spent the large part of all of my game studying every micro expression on that man's face, and he was so irritated that he had to play his idol, and then now he's had to play it incorrectly as well. And I just saw it, and I just went, okay, great. Seems I can't trust you. And then it's beautiful because it's encapsulated in a photo now where AJ's handing his idol across to JLP, and he's not even looking at the idol. He's just looking back at me, just going, what did you say? And I just find it really funny. But yeah. And now I was like, great, I found it. I found the lowest hanging fruit, the pettiest hanging fruit to just take a pass ag swipe at AJ and really just separate as much as I can. And maybe I shouldn't have taken it. Maybe I should have just. I know you don't tell people about an immunity idol. I was just annoyed. And I will, above everything, I will pick being petty over being logical.
Well, I feel like you bonded a lot with Logan in this, right? Like Logan had her issues with AJ, and I feel like your relationship with Logan, who you had been close to, but you said might have been below some of the brawns, but like she's gonna find an idol in front of you. It felt like you and Logan had bonded a lot and came into the merge really bonded. Is that like an accurate representation of your relationship through this later part of the swap?
Yeah. So like, because I think I was frustrated just from having to. Like, this is the delineating difference between, like, sort of my relationship with Miles and AJ. Like, Miles, in those bomb squad plans, he was like, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. And Miles loves yapping. Maybe that's just Miles. So I knew the direction of the vote. Whereas with AJ, I'm like, cool, we had a plan, but you've got sub plans and other plans and like, B.2. And then and sure, that's how his mind works. And it's a beautiful mind, and that's how it works. But I don't know. I'm territorial and I need to know. And I was so frustrated. And Logan was like, cool, I'm there for you. Just come here. Let's vent. And I love Logan. Logan's hilarious. She's passionate and she's aggressively petty. And we get along so well because we're both quite vindictive and petty in that regard. It does not, say that she is not intelligent either, and it does not say that she's not strategic. It's just that how we have fun is how we have fun. And that conversation around the fire where both of us are like, should we just put a vote on him? And I'm like, put the fear of God into him just for fun. And it is just a little like cackle around the fire because we just went, it's kind of funny. It'd be really funny if we did it. I'm like, stupid, but it'd be really funny. And it was those things that kind of bonded Logan and I together. It's because like we think similarly, and we think about gameplay and strategy in that way as well. And that sort of shit stirring, let's just do it for the sake of it, sure, if you're going to call me a volatile emotional female, I'll be a volatile emotional female. Watch me. Which is what I love about Logan. It's great. And I mean it with every fiber of my being when I say she's a nuclear warhead. And she is. It is a heat-seeking missile. And when it is effective, it is so effective. Like a laser focused Logan is just a weapon of mass destruction. And I think it should be given credit for what she is. Like, it's amazing. And that's what I bonded with Logan so much about. And then going even, and then we're turning. We're actively defecting at this point. I'm seeing the merits in Logan now. I'm seeing a future with her. And I'm also seeing a takedown of AJ now. The Zara is great. I love Zara, and we think really similarly, and she is definitely my ride or die. But there is a blind spot when it comes to AJ, where I will discover later on, and also through merge, that if I want to go for AJ, I have to force her hand in a say. Logan, I don't need to do that. Logan just needs a push, because Logan is willing to push me as well. And going into those later votes where we're just going poorly, the question is now getting raised. You've got Kristen, I've got Kristen. Sure, AJ thinks he's got Kristen as well, but arguably we have the stronger connection here. The numbers are now favoring us. If we wanted to use Paulie, we could. It just so happens that Paulie would pitch to Logan and I and say that we're reactive and not proactive. Every time he'd come to us, he'd be like, "You're reactive players, you're not proactive." And Logan and I take pride in how we go about our game. We like to think, and I think we are logical, and I think we are strategic. And if you just come at us and say, "No, you're just being reactive," which he's gonna be like, "All right, cool, great. My reaction is to take you out." Bye. Like, that's in its sense. But the sentiments were shifting, and we were getting very close to maybe going, "Nah, screw it. Let's just get rid of AJ. We can free up Kaylin as well, and we're gonna go into merge in a good position."
Right. But that wasn't like you were going into tribal council and Paulie was going. Like, Zara's come back at this point and it was just going to be like the clean shot of Paulie.
So Zara neutralized me quite significantly. I think if Zara had not come across, there is a strong chance that I just go, "Nah, screw it. We're going to go for AJ." The pot shots become real shots. And Zara comes across and it, just completely neutralizes me. Because she goes, the boys can't read you. They're worried they can't read you. And they're worried about you. They're doing this. And I'm just going, okay. And I'd spell it out for Zara. I'm like, "Zara, I'm just so frustrated. And I don't have you. I don't have a sounding board." And then like, I'm just struggling here. I was like, I can't think of a plan. I can't do this. It changes. And like, I don't have a concrete base to build my game on. I need someone, like the same way like AJ had Zara and Kaylin as his pillars. I had one pillar that was now on a different tribe. I had maybe a pillar that I was building, and then an alliance where I'm like, I don't really trust you. So I had no pillars in a sense. And I was genuinely struggling. And I'm trying to build this alliance that's hopefully gonna come together at merge. The PD, Zara, Kristen and I floating alliance, which I'm dead set certain is gonna work. And then of course the Kaylin. What did you call Kaylin? Kaolin?
Kaolin, yeah.
Yeah. And that
depending on where you want to go with it. Yeah. That was Mike's.
Kaylin. Oh, well, Kaylin, sweet baby K.
Yeah, so you didn't know if he would be medevaced.
No, well, that challenge really like screwed me up mentally as well. And this was one of the more like real moral dilemmas I had in the game, where so PD goes down, and it's gut wrenching to hear someone like it was awful as it sounded on the edit. And I
I think
got
we
so
heard that
taken.
because we said at the time, we were like, "Oh, did they add that in post?" And I had a challenge producer message me to be like, "That was real."
Mm.
Yeah.
It's like a biceps rupture, and it is a very audible like pop when it
Yeah, you
happens.
would know.
Yeah,
You're like, "Actually, I have some expertise here. This is very bad."
yeah, and then but the thing is, like, I saw it happen, and the first reaction I had wasn't, as another competitor, oh my God, he's hurt. It wasn't even as a doctor. Oh, I think that's distal biceps tendon rupture. Nah. My initial reaction was, shit, there goes my alliance. Damn it. Oh, I have to do something else. And I kind of just went, whoa, that's you. Okay, we're really descending into the pits of game here. And I think like I could not switch off after that. I was really taken aback at my reaction to this, and I like even like Morgan and I go next after PD injures himself, and I'm like, nah, Morgan, you can drag me around, you can completely dog walk me in this challenge. I'm not trying. Like like when I played like rugby, I've had now 7 surgeries on my knee. I know exactly what it feels like to get injured. And that was devastating. And for me to even think about another competitor, like just a chess piece on a board that I needed to better myself, I felt awful about myself. Like it was genuinely the worst I've ever felt about myself in the game. And there's a shot where AJ comes up to Zara, like gives her a big bear hug and lifts her off the ground. And I'm just like, I can't do this. And I like walk out, like just walk out of that conversation. And it's hilarious because my friends texted me being like, that's you're so petty. I can't believe you just walked out of the conversation. But the real context of it was after that challenge. And I just desperately wanted to talk to Zara and be like, I'm not good. My head's like spinning out. And I just need a moment with my like number one in the game just to set my head straight. And now we're talking strategy. I just can't screw this. I'm going. I can't do this anymore. But it makes for great TV because I look like the petty, volatile human I am. But alas. But yeah, that kind of ruined it for me. But yeah, and then not a limb again.
Yeah, so Zara's gonna, like, anyway, as you said, like, get your head kind of back into that, and Paulie's doing his own work to kind of not be as malleable or as good an ally as you want, and you don't know how much PD is gonna be an option. So it seems like everything's coalescing to make the Paulie vote, or make the Paulie target what would have been the target.
Yeah. So like Paulie, like again, like that conversation where initially at the start where Paulie tells AJ and I that he's going to put us on the bottom of a Brawn alliance, and I'm like, what? Okay, no. And then when I'm every strat chat I've had with Paulie, I'm like, Paulie, give me a name. Like who can you work with? And he like the names I wanted to hear were Kate and Morgan because PD, I think I'm sort of building something with. Jesse, I've had a vague conversation with. I don't know if I vibe you. Ben, not much input whatsoever. But the 2 caveats were Kate and Morgan. Morgan, I'd already gone one-on-one against in multiple challenges. I know how your brain works now, mainly because we've been active competitors against each other. We've have a little bit of rapport. We've got a mutual respect for each other because she's, beaten the shit out of me twice. Great. But I was like, we've got that report. I was like, okay, I need to know about these 2. But he gave me no information. And then he also made the misstep of being like, oh, Kate and Morgan are here to play Friend Island. They're not game players, which I will use against him much later on. But that's what he said. I was like, you're not giving me names. And then going up to that final vote where we're all actively targeting Paulie, he goes, I've got a great idea. I'm like, okay, cool. Tell me about this great idea. He's like, so it's an alliance. I went, uh-huh. And it involves Yumi, Zara, AJ, Kaylin, Logan. We can maybe include Kristen, and then I reckon PD. And I went, right. So Logan and I, who I've already got a very good relationship with, incredible. Kaylin, AJ, and I, who are working together. Zara, my number one. Kristen, who have got a really good relationship, who's also linked with PD, who's linked with Zara. All numbers I already have. Okay, I don't need you. Okay, you're not giving me anything like at all at this point, Paulie. So, and Paulie is in your face when he's trying to play defense, and it's just this like big onslaught where he's like, "Are you voting for me? What are you doing?" And you're just like, "No, just no, Paulie, please no, just back off." And yeah, I think that's why Paulie was like a unanimous. He was going to go.
Yeah. So getting to the merge, how do you see those dynamics? So all those relationships that you've just mentioned, Jesse's going to be a vote here, a Jesse Paulie split, where it kind of feels like all those other numbers that you've worked with, and Kate and Morgan, who you're now meeting, are going to be in on that. And yeah, how did you kind of see the merge and the hierarchy and what your plans were through the beginning of this merge?
So going into merge, this is again credit to AJ. AJ had spread this a message about how powerful of a player Laura was systematically throughout swap, just to everyone. Laura's, so influential. Laura's this, Laura's that, Laura's great. So most of our side of the swap were very wary of Laura going into it. Logan to a lesser degree, but we knew there were a duo there. And it was just the meeting of the buddies at this point. I understood that I had that little floating 4, which I confirmed when I met PD on the beach. And PD was like, "Great, dude. Like we get along so well. We've both come from a sporting background. I get you. You're a player. I'm a coach. We get this." And I loved PD on side. He was smart. He was, that he was intelligent. He was smart. He was proactive. He was great. And Zara had vouched for him as well. And then vice versa, Kristen. So I was like, I've got that 4. I've got the graduates, which will coalesce and meet. I've got Logan as well. So again, I'm comfortable. It's a very fluid merge tribe. There's the pockets and blocks of votes. I don't think there was a hierarchy per se. And again, I'm like, okay, I'm not obviously aligned to anyone other than maybe Zara, but I'm in the middle. That I'm a workable person. And it was, so Zara, when Zara gets voted across, Jesse and Ben say, "Oh, actually, we know that Karin's actually quite close with Kristen. I think we can work with her in the future if we send Zara across." So they know I'm a workable player already. I'm not an active target. I'm just someone that you could probably rely on in this regard. So I felt comfortable going into merge. And that's the thing with merge. You don't want to win the first immunity. You don't want to make the first splash. You kind of hope for a majority decision just to take the heat off, everyone else, and just to make everyone a little bit trigger happy as well. So yeah, I was comfortable.
Yeah. So the Jesse vote, did that kind of speak for itself as someone you weren't working with that everyone was happy with? And Paulie as a split also seems to work.
Yeah. I had so again, I think close splits because Jesse split was a 6-5 split.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
6-5
2. Yeah, 6-5 splits, close splits are like that.
Or thereabouts. I'm not exactly sure the numbers, but that sounds right. Yeah.
I don't necessarily believe in close splits like that, especially when we've got numbers. It gives people the opportunity to go, "Nah, screw it, I'm going the other side," which is exactly the idea I sort of had. Because I had a good conversation with Jesse. Jesse's a little bit of an anarchist and likes to, spin the wheels on a couple of things and throw a few grenades here and there. And I kind of went, "Oh, okay, no one likes you. No one wants to work with you now, and you're a direct target, which makes me want to work with you." Okay, because if the girls don't like you, and now if we find out through tribal that the girls have actively targeted you, now you don't have a direction to go. I can be that direction for you. But then obviously he's targeting Zara, and that's the thing. If you go for my buddy, you're dead to me. So that sort of cemented the decision there. And Kate, again, did a really smart thing in that reward challenge where she just picked a buddy out of each one and had that conversation, developed those relationships. And God damn it, AJ and Kate talked. Why? Which starts the AJ steamroll, essentially. And I was like, look, if I can appease to Kate and give them this vote, so be it. I don't really have much investment in it. Zara safe, win-win scenario. So
Yeah. So then the vote where Mars is going to use the idol stealer on PD or on Kristen to take out PD. We had seen like a poorly PD conversation that Mars was pushing, that Laura was pushing, which you would have hated. I mean, this was a graduate on graduate violence move that was left out of the edit because we never saw the Zara, you, Kristen, Paulie foursome, which is what gives power to the move to kind of in the proxy war that is this season detach your options. It's like a complete hit at you, really. So yeah, give me a perspective through that vote, and I'm sure like the level of rage we missed because we didn't. I mean, like we got like, but we didn't know how personal it was that the PD move was an attack on you and your alliance, and that like kind of relationship being severed. So I'm sure we missed again so much of that reaction on the show.
it was like again, like going into that vote, Laura comes up to Logan and I and proposes the PD vote, to which both of us went, no, absolutely not happening. Kristen, this is Kristen's credit here. She had a relationship with Logan, me, and AJ at this point. The PD relationship was very unique to Zara and PD and me and Kristen. So that was the four. And then the four of us have had this conversation and we're like, great, we're moving across, great. So I block the vote with Laura. This sets off Miles, who goes, no, very itchy about doing a move now. So I go tell PD, I was like, PD, I think there's going to be votes on you. I think it's going to come at you. And then Kristen's like, that's fine. We've got an idol. This is all good. What I also find out in this sort of roundabout way is that Laura has been leaking information to Miles, and that information is now getting back to AJ. Because Logan and I, after that conversation, we go, no, we want an AJ vote next. We want that AJ vote to get carried across. And Laura has now got told Miles has now told AJ. So that information flow I've now become aware of that as well. And like, I'm desperate to save PD at this point. And it was my own sort of like laziness in letting quite possibly the dumbest voting split to go ahead. That's arguably, yeah. It's like the Wentworth split. It's no, like you shouldn't let it happen. And it was my mistake in not knowing such a spanner. I mean, how am I supposed to know such a spanner could be thrown?
Yeah, like to be fair, didn't you think the plan, Jay, was that like Kristen would play her idol on PD, either like, to counter another idol play, or even maybe just generally? I mean, how could you have known her idol would be stolen? But I mean, and maybe at that point there should be other splits, but it's hard to know at that point what Mars is thinking. It's more that like Kristen's idol, Kristen's like a close ally of yours, and her idol was stolen, and everyone just continued the vote. That to me is more confusing than like on the beach. But now you're tribal, but maybe like all hell should break loose.
So at tribal, it's so this is the thing. I agree with Miles on this regard, because he always says you are very hesitant because of your opinion that you're a middle player. And if you've just been a bit more aggressive, because like if I don't give a shit, I don't give a shit. I'll just be as aggressive as I need to be. But I was like, no, I need to maintain this solid stability middle ground. So when Miles takes Kristen's idol, my gut instinct, because I'm sitting right next to Kristen and PD, and I just went, should we just throw 3 votes? Should we just throw 3 votes onto AJ? Someone. And I'm just thinking, I can tell Kristen and PD to do it, but I need Zara as well. If I tell Zara, I was going to say no. What do I do? Okay, just shut up. Just shut up. And I just had it in my head. Just do something. And then, because again, if I do that and it doesn't land, now I'm very much now not middle. I'm at the top. and I regret not doing something about it, because I wanted to work with Petey. That was a solid movement going forwards, and I didn't protect him, and it really irritated me, which is why I tried so hard to protect Kristen later on, because I was lazy, I was I didn't look at the board, and I let an ally go because I was just, I don't know, reluctant to make a move or do anything. And then Petey goes and oh my god,
Look, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure in the moment, to be fair, an idol being stolen is like, I mean, unforeseeable and very, very difficult. And so what was the reaction when PD is taken from you at that point?
Like, I think seething violent rage was all I saw. And then we go back to, and then like in my head, I'm like, Miles doesn't act as just a singularity. Miles, like, sure, he can do whatever he wants, but Miles also needs support. Idol's advantages change how you play the game. That when you have that cushion of protection, you can be more of an audacious player and you can take big swings, but you also need a fallback, and your fallback are people. So if you're going to make a big swing, you had to have told someone. Like, there has to be a cushion for you to land on. And AJ had to have been that cushion. And we went back, and I asked AJ, did you know? And then he just backpedaled, and he went, I can't believe you'd say that. Of course, I don't know everything that Miles does. Like, again, and he was fully ready to, because he thought the reaction I was going to have was just have a full-on screaming match at him and yell at him. But he did the classic AJ Gaslight voice, which I've known very well. Like I said, I've studied that man like the Bible. Like, I know what he does. And then he just lied to me. So I went, cool. All right, great. Good, thanks. And I went, yep, perfect. And then I went, great, I'm just going to have to start playing lip service now, because Zara was so angry. Logan unleashed onto AJ. And then I went, well, I'm just going to... And then I just congratulated Miles. I kind of went, oh, it's not shown, but I just went, Miles, that's great. Look, we were being complacent. We were being lazy. We were playing safe. You know what? Screw it. You've thrown a firecracker. Now we're going to go for it. Bravo. Go for it. Like, if you saw complacency, it's all in your favor to take advantage of it. And when that conversation happened, I think Miles and AJ were quite perplexed. They went, oh, Kaz isn't cranky? What happened? Did someone put something in the beans? But I asked the AJ a question. He lied point blank to me, and I went, great, done. Bridge burnt. I don't need this. We're good. Great. I'm solidly now not going to work with you. We are done. That's it. I don't need to yell at you. I don't need to do anything with you. We're good. That was it, essentially. And now
that's almost worse. It's like, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
Yeah. It's, my survivor ex-husband, just disappointed, not mad. But yeah, that was it. And I was like, oh, great. Okay, now I have to find something else. My escape raft is now sinking. But okay, great. I need to invest back into the Logans of the world. Now I maybe need to make an effort with Kate and Morgan. What do I do? This becomes something. I need to build, essentially, the rebuild.
Yeah. Did you see the move like as the attack on you that it had been? Like, did you see it that he was trying to sink the escape raft, or were you like, Miles wants to do a fun thing and like PD was an option he wasn't working with, or were you like, oh, like you cut my options? Like, did you see that in the time?
We had the conversation. Miles was playing recovery the next day, and he said, Kaz, can we have a chat? And then we had the chat, and I'm like, you devious little shit. And then he was pretty much like, look, great, I've sideswiped you now. But now can we work together? Like, we can go together. And that's the thing. Miles and Zara wanted the graduates to work. Miles and Zara desperately wanted the graduates to work, because Miles's end game was, having me around at top 3. Mainly because, like, endurance challenge beast, I am not. So yeah, it was an easy get for him. And I was also like, unbeknownst to me, I did not think I was this massive threat that Miles makes me out to be. I'm like under my belt, all I had was positioning maneuvers and pivots. There wasn't like there were no big blind sides, there were no idle plays. It was purely positioning from my vantage point anyway. So I didn't get the Kaz is a big threat thing at all. And then like Miles and I had the chat the next morning, and I went, all right, cool. And then AJ and I have the chat the next day as well, where we're trying to make amends. But it's not really working.
Yeah. This is such an interesting vote where you're going to, tell Logan to play her idol, because I feel like you're between these two sides of the dynamics that kind of keep playing out. Like even in the pre-merge at the post-swap, say Paulie had gone and you're still going, you would have been between like a Zara, Kaylin, AJ, and then like, Logan and Kristen. And that's kind of where we see it now with Logan, Laura, yourself, and Kristen. And I feel like it's again like these two kind of opposing sides of the dynamics. One has been certainly more chaotic, but they have the numbers. And at the point where they're taking out, hoping to take out a Logan into a Laura, what's your thought process here? Because as you're saying, you're needing to invest more, you think, into that side. You've lost the life raft of a PD, but then like Logan's close with Kristen. Like I kind of saw that as like your potential block through all of this. But you don't have the numbers. So what's your kind of thought process there? And then I feel like Zara is not as much with that, because Zara's never had the thing with Logan that you have. So that's again like being between these like conflicting relationships where Zara will keep pulling you over to the AJs of the world and give power to that, but you're not nearly as much on that. And I feel like you lost some of the power there just because the people you kind of, I think, probably wanted to work with were at the bottom at that point. So yeah, what was your thought process in, as you said, like playing the middle, protecting Logan, but still having that side lose out? And we do know now the way that the split was done, they were wary of where you were going to go, and they were trying to kind of fool you in terms of who you told to play the idol, where you thought like the votes were. Miles flipping over on the side of the split, which would have been, if you and Kristen were part of it, a 6-3 into actually like a 5-4. And if you take votes, then it becomes like a 3-4 or a 4-3. Anyway, it makes sense. We've talked about the split to death, but it did shoehorn you a little bit and kind of gave you the opportunity to stay with that side and save Logan individually. But what was your thought process in terms of like trying to flip fully, saving Logan at all? I mean, this is a complicated thought process, I'm sure.
Because I think that part in the game was where, because Zara's telling me like, no, the boys are just worried they can't read you. They're just worried they can't read you. But I think we can still move ahead. Just talk to AJ. Just sit down. Just put down your machete. Just sit. And the split I wanted, I was like, okay, fine, we can go on Logan, Kate. I want that split. We split up a buddy again. Regardless, someone goes. What's the problem in doing a Logan Kate split? No, can't do a Logan Kate split. I was like, Logan Morgan then. Go for that. No, can't do a Logan Morgan. And I'm like, okay, so why can't we split Logan and why can't we split Morgan and Kate? You're saying your graduate's strong, but you want to keep your options open as well. And you're pivoting and telling me I want to keep my options. I was like, so we're both hypocrites. If we look at it, like, you want to keep your options open, great, but like, don't turn it on me and saying I'm the thorn in the graduates. You're also creating options. So I shipped the votes around, and nothing was biting other than the Logan Laura. And then obviously then I think, okay, can I work with Laura going forward? So this was the sort of deciding factor in me going against Laura as well. So Miles had already said, I think I want you around in top 3, and I want Laura around in top 3 as well. I'm leaning towards the possibility of working on Miles. AJ did a fantastic thing of telling me that Miles wants to drag me to the end, which is quite possibly the opposite to Cell. But look, I'm not an endurance challenge beast, but I am a very spiteful person, and I will win that final challenge out of spite if I have to. If my legs fall, if I don't and I went, okay, cool, Miles, you drag me. Oh my god, I will pass out before I step down. Watch me. Cool. And then, but then there's the Laura caveat. Laura, who's already sifting information back and forth, and then we have this chat at the well. And mind you, Laura's done this or pitched this top 6, which includes Miles and AJ, Laura and Logan, and Kate and Morgan. That 6 has been pitched as well. So Laura's trying to explain that to me as well. We're having this conversation around the well. And she sort of lets slip that I don't exist anywhere in her top order. And she also sort of vaguely lets slip that, you know, in her top 3, she has the Kates and the Morgans there as well. And then the move now becomes much more cemented. All right, great. I can't pivot. I can't come over the top, because if I come over the top, I have to flip not only Kristen, I have to flip Zara as well. If I do that, I have to force Zara's hand. I like, if I tell Zara I want to go for AJ, I don't think that's going to work. I have to essentially go to tribal and say, I'm going to put myself really on the firing line here, and I need you to come with me. It's literally go me or him, pick. So that's not going to work either. Okay, cool. Let's go plan. Let's backpedal. I think I'm in a minority. I know Miles is trying to protect me, and Miles is thinking that there's options at final 3 that include either me or Laura. Great, fine. Laura's going.
Right.
And I have a move, I suppose, in telling Logan to play the idol. But yeah, the funny thing is, there was this very unhinged plan that I pitched to Miles and AJ just to sort of appeal to the theatrics of the situation, because Miles wanted to send Logan home with an idol. That was the theater in it. And I went, why don't we just, you know, Logan hates being cornered. Logan hates being told what to do. How about unhinged plan? Why don't we just tell her? And it becomes this beautiful Shakespearean tragedy where Logan has to just watch her best mate go and has to just decide between picking her or Laura. And then I think AJ and Mal kind of went, unhinged, you psycho, kind of funny. And then Zara went, no, do not do that. I went, okay.
Zara was doing a lot of the heavy lifting, keeping you guys in line. Zara, really needed to. She deserves a medal for the work she was doing, keeping you guys in line.
Well, because this is the thing. Like, I think AJ understood, and Miles understands this about me as well. Like, fundamentally, sure, I do like. I'm organized. I like control. If you give me a little bit of a flair for the theater, I do like it as well. So I kind of went. I still get what I want, but it's kind of funny. Like, come on, just see the merit in this work, and then it didn't. So I went, okay, great, here we go. Screw it.
Yeah. Ironically, a few days later, you will be tasked with choosing between yourself and your closest ally. So that might have been some like poetic retribution for having
absolutely.
that idea. Yeah. But so were you kind of worried though about like that? Because they're like worried from the beginning, like with the split vote. I mean, firstly, they split the vote differently than you thought. So that must have been red flags. And then also, like you were telling her at tribal council, and like people were talking at tribal council, then it started becoming like a conversation. So were you kind of worried about the heat and the way that people kind of were seeing you? Because I think these like this next vote that's going to be a non-elim, but I feel like you're kind of struggling with like not getting the information time, getting the wrong information because you had been a possible target. So they're giving you the wrong information. Then it changes to a Logan and Miles is protecting you. But then like even when you know that, you're like, why haven't I known the plan? It's like you know, because you have had heat on you. So I think, were you feeling the weight of like the spotlight of that, and also like having lost that power, being at the bottom, having your options cut off? I mean, since the PD vote, that's clearly been what has happened. So how are you feeling about all of that? Where were you seeing your game within all of that?
Well, this is the thing about me. I need some form of momentum. I don't really need, control is a big factor. I like control. I need to move myself somewhere. I don't need to move parts. I don't need to move the players on the board. I need to have some route through it, which is why when I did it, I was like, okay, I'll cop it. I'll have to go back. And I honestly thought they would 100% know. And I'm like, look, I'll beg, plead, grovel, whatever, deflect, deny, whatever. I'll do it. I need a piece. I need a piece that I can move forward with. Like I had Zara. I think I have Logan. And like I was honest with Logan when we came back to the beach. I think Logan did a lot of backtracking where she, pretty much just, said, like Laura was the instigator of this. The top 6 plan was Laura. I didn't even know it was happening. Laura's sifting information back and forth, etc. Save me. And I think she was really upset at like Kaylin. I think she was upset at quite a lot of people, and she was deeply wounded as well. And even like the Kristens of the world who she trusted. So when Logan and I had that chat, I said, Logan, you have to understand my motive. And I think you understand my motive through this game. This was not me saving you out of the goodness of my heart. This is me making a move, making you work with me. Logan had already annoyed quite a lot of people in the way that she'd gone off at AJ, how she'd sort of reacted in certain scenarios, especially the likes of Morgan and Kate. Same with Zara, who had wanted her out quite a few votes. Miles hadn't been working with Logan either. And I'm like, Logan, the forward momentum for you is now with me. There is an incentive for you to work. It's mutually assured destruction here. I put myself out on the line. You're already in, firing line. Now I'm right there with you. So we can move ahead together in a game that we do not have much control over. AJ has a stunning amount of control now. And we are actively now the Thorns. So let's just be Thorns together. That was the pitch. I said, Logan, like the only way we gain control and momentum is just being together now. We have to go forwards. And like that was it after that vote. And obviously the boys were discussing amongst themselves as well. And I think I was worried. But yeah, it was the only way forward for me, I suppose, because playing, I don't think AJ would have believed me if I played lip service and said, oh yeah, let's go graduate strong, yay, I trust you wholeheartedly. Yay, let's make amends. I genuinely don't think that's a way forward.
Yeah, you invested a lot into Logan, which will not pay off, but I do think probably was the best bet. But you said it's like mutually assured destruction. You will go out back to back. I think that you were kind of relying on each other there. And maybe it's the Logan Zara divide that makes that really tough again, which was again something you were managing from the very, very beginning. Like there's something there. But I mean, in this vote as well, before you get to the Bounty Baron twist, you were trying to, do the shot on Kate and Morgan. And then Kate's immune, and then you had been the name, but you hear that Logan's the name after you'd invested in her. So what were your kind of thoughts through all of that before the twist?
So that vote going in, obviously the pitch had gone towards me as well, and to Morgan's credit, she'd sort of diverted that pitch, and I think that's where Miles goes, oh, Karin looks really cranky. That's when I sort of find out that the split's now changed to something else. And I think we decide on putting the split on Logan, and I went, okay, fine, go for it. That's just sure, whatever, great. Sure, maybe now I really have to backpedal. The move didn't work. Let's just give the scalp that needs to be scalped. And now I'm firmly aware that this is a Herculean task now to dig myself out of this hole. But I did have Miles to a certain degree, and Miles is now telling me he wants to work with me. And I just could not separate Miles and AJ, because in my head I'm like, sure, Miles, great. I just don't see a world where we are working together without your, I don't know, closest ally. Like I don't know how this is going to work out. You can, claim on high heaven that you'll take me to final 3, but we're at 10 here, like no 9.
10.
9? 10,
Oh,
10,
well,
10.
11. Well, yeah, 10. It's going to be the first 10 vote. Yeah. And
Yeah.
the bounty baron twist. Yeah.
And yeah. And then obviously we changed the split around a few times as well. So again, the going into that tribal, I was going to try something there and potentially and switch it across, or again, like I said, the force of hand had to be at the last minute to get Zara to just go, okay, I have to save her now. She's fully gone kamikaze here.
To try go for like a Morgan, because Logan's the target there, so you're hoping to get like the Morgan side of it.
Yeah, Morgan side of it. Like, you can't take a shot at AJ. There's not a chance in hell. But like Kristen is leaning towards AJ as well, because now we've gotten rid of Ursula, PD. She's like, the tides are sort of shifting in her trust and allegiance to AJ, or lack thereof. I don't know. But yeah, I'm clutching at strings here. And then we get to that tribal, gets announced. And so Kate's won. So I went, okay, I need to separate Kate and AJ. Like, that's the separation. That's what needs to happen. So we're having a chat about what's going on. I'm like, Logan, you're gonna get sent. Like, mate, that's a given. But let's try and send old mate with you. Because if you're on a lose situation with AJ, there's more incentive for you to win that, because they're going to try and protect AJ. And if we separate Kate and Morgan, because Kate's going to take Morgan with her, that maybe whoever lands on that side can maybe try and form a relationship with those two. But let's try and separate it. And this was also a very public announcement of me going, I am with you, Logan. I am with you, Kristen. I am going to systematically now vote for AJ twice. And I did like the opportunity to go, AJ, I'm sending you to therapy first. Yes, it was great. And also pissing him off gives me so much joy. But that was also it, being like I'm actively saying, I'm going to go now. I'm going to go and I'm going to align myself. I'm picking a side. The line is drawn and I'm going to actively make it obvious now. That's there. And sure, having, like, I think everyone sort of says, oh, you need to be more direct with Logan. You can't just like burn her like back and forth. I have had conversations with Logan. Like, I've had that one chat after the vote itself. And then we go into this as well. And I'm telling you, Logan, let's work around this. Let's try and create some sort of divide where this works, which is why we're having the conversation. I'm going, all right, cool. I'm going to put a vote on AJ. She's like, great, I'll put a vote on AJ. Paul is potentially going to do it as well. Kristen is on board, but then no, Kristen's not on board.
She voted poorly, and then she voted AJ at the second one, which I now know.
Yes. So, and this is also like getting a gauge of the votes as well. You just, okay, so Kristen is willing to vote for AJ. Okay, great. So you are willing to do it. And I'm like, the numbers are there. There are people willing to go this direction. I just need you to realize that he is a huge threat. And then I land in bounty with all 4 of them.
Yeah.
Which is great. And great for me, because now the 2 biggest endurance beasts with now the biggest advantage going into endurance challenge are there, so I'm safe. But I can't take a swipe at AJ now. Like, I can't go for him because he's right there with me. And like, I had a chat with, I think I have a chat with Morgan, where Morgan's like, dude, you are absolute insanity. I can't believe you're just throwing votes. And I'm like, bro, like, I'll do it. I'll absolutely do it. And like, to Morgan, I like Morgan. I really like Morgan. She's an athlete. I get how her brain works, and she loves just funny shit stirring as well. And I do get along with her at that point. And the main prerogative of now the bounty situation was like, okay, let's salvage. I had not invested in Kate and Morgan, and that was to my detriment. I had sort of lost so much focus, or I was so focused on what AJ was doing that I completely ignored what I was not doing, which was investing in Kate and Morgan. And that was, now I'm in a beach. We're suntanning on Bounty. So I was like, all right, cool. Let's try and get to know you. And Zara was just like, dude, this is hard. Like, I've really tried. This is not going to work. Like, we're not going to get any headway. And I've now seen AJ block a Kate vote multiple times. And now they're not allies. Kate and AJ got along really well. They were genuinely friends. I think this sort of like reductive reasoning of like, oh, they're party animals and I'm not a party animal and I don't get along because we're not party animals is completely like, no, it's defunct. Like, Kate's a DJ. She loves going out for a boogie. AJ is very different, but they got along beautifully because they have those core traits that get along well and they were genuinely friends. And now that's very hard to break up. So, Bounty was hopefully going to be my bounty, but unfortunately, the only target we could have gone for was Miles.
Yeah, that's a tricky Baron tribe for you because while you are immune, you don't want Logan to go, you don't want Kristen to go, Paulie can go, Kaylin, you don't want to go. Really, you've had the relationship with him, and then Miles, like, Miles has been protecting you. So like, what was your thought process in that? I mean, Miles is going to become the vote. How do you see that vote having come together on Miles, and also the fact that he had invested a lot in you, and you, through these next two votes, are not going to invest kind of back in him?
Yeah, like, it was the worst case scenario in the fact that I think I was slowly turning towards actively working with Miles. Mainly because I had not much options at that point. But now the other path forward is to try and work with Kate and Morgan and build some sort of relationship there. And that route was now through getting a Miles out. And it was also a vote that Zara could agree on too. And like, Zara knows I want to go for AJ, and she is really protecting AJ at that point as well, which is so it's comical how I managed to end up in the situation where Zara's like AJ, one of AJ's pillars in this game is like my closest ally, and we're just in this repetitive loop of trying to swat at each other, and she's just going, no, please just stop. But yeah, so Miles is now the only route forward there. But so then obviously we and then we have to, so Kate Morgan, sorry, Zara and Kate bring out the win. We go into the scramble, and that's when. So like I said before, I'd screwed up earlier where I didn't protect an ally when I had some sort of maneuverability, and this was the Kristen target that I saw happening. Miles hates people that can just be loyalty votes or numbers, and I just had a feeling he was going to try something there. The Bounty 5 were always going to dump on Miles per se. And then I had a chat with Logan. Like I said before, whenever I know there's a split going on. So look, the split was going to be Miles Logan. The aim is, hey, there's a split. I'm telling you the direction of this vote. We can do something because I think, Miles is going to try something there. And that's where Logan goes, no, he's got an idol. And I'm like, great. Okay, we can flush this. Kristen is going to vote for Paulie. Kaylin's going to vote for Paulie. If you flip your vote onto Paulie as well, great. Miles sends an Aaron vote. Paulie sends an Aaron vote. We flush and Paulie goes. And then the pitch, I sort of like, Kate and I have a conversation where we're going, oh, there's an idol in play. Should we even dump on Miles? And then we just go, no, we'll flush it. Let's just flush the idol so he doesn't have any options for the next round. And it's also where I have a conversation with Kate where I kind of go, what's your forward trajectory with AJ? Like, what do you see going forwards? And we kind of have this honest conversation where she goes, I don't get why you guys have such, conflict. And I went, I don't know. That's just, I was like, look, we had a rocky start. I had a lot of distrust. Now we just sort of go against each other. And then she just went, I just don't have that relationship with him. Yeah, I've never had that relationship with him. And I sort of kind of tried to say, he's like, oh, he always gives me an option. And like, he doesn't make me vote in a direction I don't want to vote for. And I tried to sort of explain to her, I went, Kate, it's like a paint by numbers situation for you where you think you're coloring in this beautiful image, but it's paint by numbers set up by him. It's this facade of agency that you think you have in a game that's very much dictated by him. You are not going on the majority side of splits. You're in the minority aspect of a split, which doesn't have power. It's just this, again, facade of having agency in a vote. Do you want to go ahead with that? Or like, what do you want to do? Like, or do you want to make active attempts at this game? You're an incredibly social player. I've targeted you several times now because I see you as a threat, like a physical threat and a social threat. People really like you. People love your story. In a game which is all about perception, your story looks really good as a winner. And it is a very strong pitch you can make at the end. So I'm just saying, you have a lot. You're not just a player. You have some owners there to win, and I don't think you should be carried through. So that was that conversation there. So I don't know. Probably didn't land. And then we go into it, and Kate, Morgan, and Zara think it's Logan, and it obviously Paulie goes home there.
Yeah, it's interesting that they, by dumping their votes or being kind of the alpha of the split, they gave the beta actually more power to change that around. But I guess they wanted to make sure a Miles vote would go through, and that was their kind of priority over caring that much about like a Paulie or a Logan or a Kristen, who were kind of the possible other names there. So that makes sense. I mean, you say that you have this conversation with Kate about what her path is, but then coming back from this, like Miles is no longer the target and they're on you and you're on them again. It's like you just come together and now you'd separated. Like, what do you attribute that change in dynamics to?
So after
was it that you had always wanted to go for them and then they were immune anyway? Was it more that? Was that like, was the Miles, was it more the Miles vote? Was the
Miles vote
discrepancy?
Was, oh, sorry. That vote, the discrepancy was that we were all on a tribe and we were immune. And I had no choice but to have that conversation with them because I'm like, this is a stupid conversation not to have, just to see if there is a movement forward there. And what I gathered was that there was no sort of forward movement with Kate. She was locked in with AJ. She thought her route to the end with him was very, very clear. And she's very protective of Morgan as well. And she knew that if she was protected, Morgan's protected. And that those are her primary motives. So like, that's it. And she was locked in. And I like that conversation alone where I'm like saying, do you want actual agency or do you want real, like, what do you want? And I was like, okay, I'm not getting anywhere there. Morgan, to a certain degree, I think would have been more willing to make a move, but again, there were like small chats, not enough. And again, there's no onus for her to jeopardize her position there. She's in a good position. And again, she has like, we don't have enough of a strong relationship for her to flip. Does Morgan like fun, chaotic play? Yes, maybe I should have appealed to that side of her. But the investment I had made was Logan, who now it's 2 votes now. And then the other one was, so we come back from that tribal and I sort of paint out the picture for the Christians of the world. And I was like, did you notice how, Miles and AJ are trying to separate themselves? They did not talk to each other at the start of that scramble. Like, did we not? This is where I'd say, Tweedledee and Tweedle dipshit. Tweedledee and dipshit? Anyway. Like, they weren't talking. Like, they do this all the time, but they didn't do it this time. So are you really going to think that they're not working together? This is just creating diversion. And I've now told Kristen, I told her actively, I was like, Kristen, I've screwed up once, didn't say PD. I've saved you now. This is it. This is the block. And I've never outlined a top 5 or a final 5 or a whatever to anyone at this point, mainly because, again, nihilist at heart, and I again saw myself as a firm middle player. I did not think I was a winner in any regard, but I said, all right, Kristen, I think the way forward now, the 5 I see is probably you, me, Logan, Zara, and Kaylin. We've all got interconnected relationships now. I know there's certain gripes between each other, but I think this is the way forward. And I vocalized it to Kristen, mainly because, Logan was slightly wary of me because she knew I had ulterior motives, but Kristen, she trusted. And I said, Kristen, I think you should I was like, tell Logan this is the plan. So now we can come together. This coming from you now is probably more logical. And it gives us sort of like the grounds to now plan and navigate going forward. But that conversation did not happen. And then this stupid berries. God.
Yeah.
I hate the berries.
I saw your group as similarly, obviously not Kaylin. Kaylin was a blind spot that's gonna be with AJ. It probably could have been more, I thought, like a Miles. But you at that point, like you've really, I feel like, divested, or is that a word? Diverted, whatever. Diverged from not invested, the opposite of invested. You've diverged from uninvested from Miles. Did you think about Miles in that? Because we feed Miles like on the plan on you, like they're like leaving Miles out. You're not privy to that information, but and like anyway, it doesn't matter because again, like Kristen is doing the half measure on you, which is so ironic, by the way. Do you see the way that the cyclical nature of the game? There's a lot here, but Logan's completely uninvested from you. But Miles, you've uninvested from him. So did you kind of think about a Miles in something? I know you all just voted for him, but everyone had that plan. So where was Miles in this?
So this is like I don't like, this is the communication side of things where like Miles says, I want to take you to top 3. I think you can beat you at top 3 because it's Miles. Miles will just bluntly be like, I'm beating you at top 3 and that's why I want it. But he's never told me, oh, let's strategize, let's work together, let's do this, let's do that. It's just been, I'm going to take you to 3, which doesn't give me much hope. It's like, and I can't work with that. And again, my biggest blind spot is thinking I had a solid enough relationship with Kaylin and enough sub relationships with Kaylin to make that 5 work. And then my other blind spot was attributing that, Miles and AJ are like a package deal. And if you don't sever AJ from Miles, I cannot work with Miles. Like that's to my detriment as well. But then again, like Miles didn't communicate that he was willing to part with AJ a lot earlier either. Not that I knew. I don't even know if he would have parted with AJ much earlier either. And the other caveat to this thing, I think, is the fact that I think that someone said it in a confessional or at some point. They're like, oh, if we go for Zara and Karin sticks around, like it will be absolute scorched earth. And to a certain degree, yes, but I'm not a person that works in absolutes. I knew that I would have to take out Zara at some point if I had to. We had a similar-ish trajectory to the game. Now I'm aware that she's got actually arguably more moves than me on paper as well. So if it comes down to it, the logical step for me would be to take out my number 1 ally. But again, this is my running theme. I need agency in these moves. if someone had been like, hey, this is the direction of the vote, talk to me, etc., and I would have gone, okay, logically speaking, yes, I will have to betray my number one ally, but the way forward for me, where I have a chance of making it across, does not include Zara. Okay, I think I can work with that. But I think from like the buddy system before and the vitriol people copped from eliminating a buddy, I think obviously they would just assume that I would, seventh circle of hell them if Zara were to be targeted actively and I were to find out. And yes, if I had any maneuverability, I would. But if it was me over Zara and that was the only option and I had to make the decision, I would make the decision. And I think, yeah, maybe that wasn't understood, but who knows?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, Kristen's going to tell you that and give you that decision, but I think the issue, and we spoke about this in the X interview, was that you thought you had more. And I think the blind spots were, I mean, Kristen to a degree, because Kristen's giving you the half measure. Then you have you and Zara, and then Kaylin's a big, like, misread blind spot. You know, you say, like, Miles and AJ, that connection was too dangerous. Like, really, like, Kaylin and AJ was probably even more so, and that, Kaylin was, like, the secret buddy. And I think that was good work on his behalf. And then Logan was a blind spot. We have discussed, like, probably, like, to her detriment, and she will go home next. Like, I think Logan should have been with you, but I think maybe the other blind spot was that you said you saw yourself as, like, a middle player, and the perception in the game had you as this, like, huge threat. So Logan, while I think she should be working with you, sees it as, like, her move to take out this big player. So I think you were relying on, like, the Kaylins and Logans, and in relying on them could actually, like, make a move to have, like, numbers without it being like, oh, I'm gonna have to just vote out my number one ally, keep being on the bottom, have no agency, but live another day in the game. Had you known that that was the only option, which you are going to know soon and will vote for Zara, but had you known from the beginning that that was your only option, as you're saying, Zara has to get cut. But when Kristen tells you, as we've, like, discussed, you think that there's a better play here for you that has just way more power than that.
Well, this is the thing. So this entire movie is interesting mainly because it highlights all of the best and worst qualities about me as a player as well. So Kristen telling me, so the pitch on me actually started for about 72 hours earlier at Baron. So the seeds had already been planted that early. And I think Kaylin doesn't get enough credit for it. So the whole premise of so Kaylin will turn on you if he finds out that you've turned on him. AJ fed the theory that I had been going for him at 10 during the previous challenge as well. Sorry, when Laura gets bad as well, that there were attempts to go at him. So Kellen has now soured on me a little. And then he also, I think I forgot who's, I don't know, this is all secondhand information, but I think basically the story spread around that I've told everyone that Kaylin's divulged Logan's idol information. And then Kaylin hates that because he's like, no, I'm a loyal player. I don't want to turn on people, etc. So the conversation happens with Kaylin and Logan, where Kaylin goes, hey, actually, Logan, I didn't do that. Karin did. Karin's the one that's actually been spreading all of this information about you. She's the bad guy in this scenario. And that those seeds started getting planted in the Kristens and the Kaylins of the world. So that then multiple conversations happen where now Logan is actively now souring on me because she's like, oh shit, she's, she'll tell Zara everything. I'm not actually a part in her game. Kristen hasn't told Logan about this, my final 5 pitch either. And so when Kristen tells me, and then later on in jury, she goes, no, I let, cat, sorry. She's eating a fly.
Oh my God.
Kristen's explanation was, gross, that she wasn't loyal to Logan during her blindside and idol play, and she wanted to be loyal to me. And I went, okay. I mean, loyalty would have been probably warning me a couple of nights ago or telling me that there's been active discussions. You have the whole Berry Alliance thing forming. Loyalty is telling me that's happening. but telling me 2 minutes before, that's a move. Own it as a move. I will respect it a lot more if you say that's a move. But if you try to steer me or like backseat drive me, I'm a type of person that if I get the inkling that you're trying to make me a move and steer in the direction, I will drive us into oncoming traffic and on off a cliff. Like that's the worst traits about me, but that's me. If you steer me, I will drive us off a cliff. That's just how I retaliate. And I didn't want to be her move. I didn't want to get blindsided, and that's sure ego, pride, whatever, and that all of that got the best of me in that regard. And I did the split math, the 4-3-2 split. And I was like, yeah, cool. If I like the incentive for Logan to work with me, the incentive for Kristen to work with me, they were all very high. Zara's my number one. Blind spot, arguably, Kaylin is there. But the other three, like, I don't know how they thought that Berry Alliance was going to work. Like, they don't know the graduates exist. I think there's some inkling that we do exist, but if Logan knew the graduates existed earlier on, she would have tried much harder and swapped to get rid of, Kaylin, AJ, and I, because she knows we're a part of an alliance. And like, you would know that if you get rid of me, that 4 now goes very solidly together because I am the hindrance in that alliance. So yeah, I don't know. I don't get it. But yeah, again, I made the misstep, and I realized in tribal, I was like, oh, great. So cool. The active decision to take Zara out is now my decision, and I will take that decision there. I will not turn on Zara if it's getting forced into a corner just to do it for the sake of doing it. I want some level of agency if I'm going to take out my number one ally. I think that, I don't know if it's diluted, but that was it.
How had you known so clearly that you needed to do the Zara vote and like your plan was definitely like not going to happen?
As in which one? Sorry.
When you were at tribal council and you told them all and, got everyone up and made the target. Like, I think it ended up being like a Miles. You said maybe like an AJ.
Yeah. Because the premise was, I'm just going to like self-detonate and make you realize how much of a bigger threat those two are. Like, those are the threats. Like, I don't know in what valley you think I'm a threat. They're sitting right there across from you. Take the swipe, take the aggressive knock, and do it at my detriment. I'm telling you, the fallback is just me. You've got free range, open targeting. And arguably, maybe I should have pitched it to everyone, not just that 4. Maybe I should have pitched it to Morgan, Logan as well. Morgan and Kate as well. And go. Everyone, do it. Let's decide. Whatever. Throw it at them. I don't know. Let Miles and AJ vote for me. I genuinely thought that Miles and AJ were the instigators of that plan. Even though Logan makes a claim for it, I genuinely thought it was AJ, which I think it was. And when I made the pitch and I talked to them, like, Kaylin goes, oh, I have 2 options. I'm like, really? Okay. You've got 2 options. Wonderful. And it was just blank. It was just blank expressions. Zara's absolutely like completely blindsided. She had no idea. She initially thought I was just like having, I don't know, a meltdown. And then she's like, oh, wow, this was, I was like, yeah, that was the thing. And it just got blank expressions. And then we sat back down. And to be honest, like, Kristen didn't need to throw herself under the bus. I don't think there was enough knowledge of her saying anything. You could have easily diverted and said Logan said it or Miles said it. Like, you didn't have to throw yourself under the bus. And I didn't. And the discussions during that tribal, they didn't know who told me either. So Kristen didn't have to do that, is what I'm saying. Because like, and it was also petty of me as well, just to be like, I'm just gonna like, scorched earth everyone on my way out. Absolutely, I'm gonna do that. But yeah, as soon as I looked at them, there was just dead expressions, and I was hoping that they would maybe like, look, if there were maybe someone's sort of not gonna switch it back onto me, and the other next attempt was just to throw it on Zara and hope that the split stayed the same. Stupid of them to do, but you want to just hope. Like, if you're gonna go, like, what's the harm?
Yeah, I think, I like that you made it a tight group, even though Kaylin was the blind spot. If you can get the right 5 there, I think the argument is like, this is now
Yeah.
the 5. Like, if everyone's included, it's like, well, why jump to the masses? Other than them being targets for sure. But like, I think it was like, we could be the core. And I definitely saw it. I saw that, Logan and Kristen should have done it over the split beforehand. But I got, kind of what we're going for, or what they, I thought maybe should have done with you. You had invested so much into Logan, who is going to join you on the jury next. So going to the jury, what was that like? I mean, it was a spicy jury villa that we saw generally. So what was kind of the vibe at jury villa?
Um, like I was terrified of going into the jury, mainly because Laura, my fault. Paulie, also my fault. But it was, and they stonewalled me initially when I walked in there. So I went, oh my god, I'm in so much trouble. And it was fine. And I came out firing because I was just like, this sucks. I hate this. Choke on your beans. But like the funny thing was, like, because Paulie had been kept so out of the vote, Laura had not had any information for about 5 days. So she was pretty much, gossip starved. So I my jury feast, I did not. I think I had 2 forkfuls of my spaghetti, and it was just me sort of describing all of the events leading up to tribal and whatnot. And yeah, and I was also like so pissed off because Kaylin spelled my name wrong, and I'm like, can you even spell? Like, it's 37 days, bro. Like, we both have the same initials on our water bottle. Where did you get that from? But yeah, and then yeah, Paulie was upset at me, especially when I told him about the voting split. Yeah, and then we went paddleboarding, and I'm pretty sure he tried to drown me about 3 times, but we got over it.
Yeah,
It
spicy
was
jury
a
villa. I didn't
huh?
realize it was spicy enough for drowning, but
A
yeah,
little bit of drown. Yeah,
yeah.
I think. Oh, sorry, you go.
No, I just, yeah, I mean, I wanted to know what, in terms of everyone then coming to jury villa and watching the season unfold, what your thoughts were watching it. I know there was a lot of frustration that people weren't taking the shot at AJ that we saw from you at jury villa.
So like I think there were sort of two the two like more spicier jury was so Logan's coming up next, and then so Logan's was interesting because when Laura got voted out, Logan, arguably in her defense, had to backpedaled very hard onto Laura and said, "No, that was it. She was the puppet master. She was the witch queen. Yada yada yada." And I think Laura just wanted an explanation, being like, "Dude, we made those decisions together. Like, what if?" And then they had their initial like blast, figured it out, and then had like I don't know, like 5 hour chat into like the hours of the morning, and they figured it out themselves as well. And I think going into the Kristen episode, mainly because it had come off the back of rocks, like so in tribal for Logan's episode, it was one of my favorite episodes to watch as well. And I got severely told off after that tribal purely because I was actively communicating with the players, because Zara would look at me and be like, remember this, AJ's looking at me, Miles is looking at me, and we're all being like, split 4, and then just not doing everything a jury member should not be doing. And when the vote's going ahead, I'm pretty much just like a yob at a footy crowd. I'm doing these pretty much. And then when it's about to go to rocks, I just hear the whisper, what does rocks do? And then Laura and I just look at each other and go, oh my God, they don't know what it is. And then Logan does this like beautiful Hail Mary where she is just being like, I'm not voting for anyone that goes to rocks, and pretty much just painting any negative light onto the boys as much as they can, trying to corral the girls to go for it, then does the backpedal and trying to play humble and being like, oh, it's okay, I don't mind. So she did a magnificent fight, and it was really fun to watch. And then my my favorite was when Logan gets voted out and Zara just goes, that's for you. And I went, thank you. So it was a super fun tribal. But then Kristen caught the vitriol of it, mainly because Paulie Paulie had heard things that he wanted to say, and he got it all out. Was it the right place? Maybe not. And then like, look, I that's where I asked Kristen. I was like, Kristen, when did you find out? And then she told me, and I went, just tell me it was a move. And she's like, no, I'm playing loyal. I'm like, dude, nah, just tell me. Like, it's just own up to it. And this is the thing about Kristen and I genuinely think she's one of the most incredible women I've ever met. And I think she was one of the people where I really struggled to separate player and person, because this was a person that I was so close to, that I really trusted, and I loved every aspect of her life. And then the player had just sort of like completely like, screwed me. And you can't help it. You just go into those moments where you're like, I don't see anyone. I do not see the woman that I admire and love. I just see like the person that voted me out. And it takes you a while to just go, okay. And I think that's what happened in jury. It was just like we'd invested so much into each other from like a personal perspective, that when it came to the player person distinction, it struggled. But we got out of it mainly just because we were very okay with just getting it out of our system. Like, Paulie and I, off camera, obviously, pretty much had a full-on argument with each other where he's like, you didn't work with me. You spread all this like snake oil salesman stuff about me. You told Kate and Morgan that I thought they were playing friendship games. And I'm like, yeah, Paulie, of course I did. Like, I am trying to spread misinformation about you. I didn't want to work with you, and I was doing everything in my power to stop that. Like, yes, I did that. And then he just went, yeah, okay, cool. All right. Fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was jury.
Yeah, well, I mean, I definitely think there was a culture of like airing the grievances and then like, shoring up and being like okay, that we tended to see on the first nights of Jury Villa. I mean, what was your thought process through the game? Seeing something like the 2-1-1-1 vote, or like who was, I mean, obviously you're like rooting for Zara generally, but like who was impressing you? Who were you like, I need to do more? Like as a juror, what were you looking at about who was doing well, who was going to get jury votes, and what was like, good moves, bad moves from your vantage point of the jury bench?
So, when I say, so at the start I said AJ is a ruthless player. His motive is to win, and his secondary is perception. Now, when it comes to jury management, you have to give the perception that there are people that will not vote for you because of like personal grievances. So when I get voted out, it was completely fine. I think I got up and said, who wants my sarong? Gives it to Morgan and walk out. AJ had actually told everyone that on my way out, I called him a prick. And I think even everyone after, they're like, oh, you called AJ a prick. My God, we thought you like hated him. And I went, no, he was my favorite sparring partner. And I like pissed him off because I had fun playing against him. Like I will vote for him any day of the week. When we were, thinking about questions for the jury, I think I only started with AJ because that was the guy I thought that was going to be at the end. Like Zara's game, I respect to the degree that I would have voted her out if I thought it was a threat to my game, because she did have moves. She maneuvers herself really well. And like I said, she is a ruthless player, and she will say exactly what she means to say. And she will do exactly what she wants to do. She just has the foresight to modulate herself, and she had moves. And when it came to that, the final five vote, I thought she was going to go for Kaylin. Going into that vote, I genuinely thought she was going to go for Kaylin. But the Kate move made sense, and for her to clock that it was a 1-1-1 split, I think that was incredible on her part, and it made sense because she knew that she had invested in AJ and Kaylin. AJ especially, that is her guy at the end now. That is the person that will take her to the end, and vice versa as well. And I think Miles winning that immunity challenge next was probably the biggest statistical anomaly there. You had arguably the biggest challenge beast in the game so far, another endurance threat, and a guy that's been throwing challenges as well. arguably, yes, you could probably, in a multi-stage challenge, I think you would bet heavily on the other three over Miles, but Miles came out on top. And because Zara had burned Miles so drastically, the other two were never going to take him over her. It just so happened that Miles won. And I think I will protect Zara's game to the bitter death. And in the jury, especially, there was so much negative sentiment on Zara, saying that, she was cold, she was aggressive, she was ruthless, she wasn't warm, and she was comforting. And my argument to everyone else was like, okay, cool, channel that over to AJ's side. You're going to call him cold? And no, you'd say he was a ruthless cutthroat player. So don't, go against Zara because she's doing exactly the things that the strong dominant male players are doing. And the same thing with AJ, like, yeah, Laura, Logan, all of us had been burnt, but we knew exactly what kind of game he was playing. Like, post-merge was dominated and completely controlled by him. The smear campaign Logan and I had to run to create uncertainty and doubt around AJ was aggressive. Like, we would, say that he was a liar, that he was, he was AI generated, that he's eating too much, like the massive smear campaign. He managed to survive all of that. So Godspeed.
Did the jury like Zara's move at the final 5 to take out Kate?
No, they didn't get it. They didn't. So Kate comes out. And like everyone's just upset that Kate goes, because I think there was a lot of jury sway towards Kate at that point, mainly because bitter resentment towards Miles, AJ, and Zara. And Kate was sort of like the nicer, shinier. Okay, this is a pleasant vote now. And there was a really emotional tribal where Morgan essentially just sacrifices herself and sends herself out to protect Kate's game. And we knew the tremendous things that Kate had to go through to get to that point in the game with regards to her OCD as well. Like, it is such an injustice to Kate that was not shown. It is profound watching Kate go through all of that. And to not give Kate that credit, I think, is such a disservice. And I think that's what we were all thinking as well. So when Kate gets voted out, no one really understands Zara's premise because no one's there to explain what Zara did. I sort of, because I'll bat for Zara, and I was like, no, she's like, did you notice that all the votes were going in different directions? Like, the guns are all pointed at each other, and she just went, oh, cool, I'll just shoot the one I want. So in my head, it made sense. I think the jury sort of didn't understand it, mainly because of some of the negative sentiments around Zara as well, and also none of them had seen Zara's game to the degree I had. They all thought that she was riding on AJ's coattails, which is not the case. She'd protected AJ at multiple focal points throughout the game. She had a lot of agency in some of the decisions she made as well. And she'd now done a massive move that only benefited her at the detriment of Miles as well. So arguably, and then she's going in as a massive challenge threat. Like, there is no iota that you should keep Zara in the game unless it directly benefits you. Like, you do not take a woman like Zara into a final 3 challenge. Like, she will stand on there for like 20 hours. That's gonna happen. So yeah, and if we think about the other players, obviously Laura was always going to barrack for Miles. I think I'd publicly sort of said that I didn't really respect Miles's game, but I understood it for what its visual value was, and the optics, and the real Miles had played Survive on hard mode to a certain degree. There was this degree of luck in the idols and advantages, but he had played from the bottom, and yes, quite sloppy compared to the systematic approach that AJ had, but there are real merits to his game as well. And it is a really good story if we're thinking about perception and what a game looks like overall. And then comes Kaylin. So with our jury, I think there was a lot of sentiment going around that Kaylin had not played a strategic game, like myself included. I like, there have been strat chats where we've gone, Kaylin, do you want to have a chat? No, I'm going to go snorkel. Logan had seen it. I'd seen it. Laura had seen it because it was a brains heavy jury as well. Kristen, Paulie, a bit more persuaded towards Kaylin, but I think in a jury that looks at strategy, I think Kaylin was always going to become second fiddle, at least from my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, it's really hard to say because it's like, you know, if Kaylin takes Zara or Zara takes Kaylin or Kate takes one of them, but like how would you have ordered, just very broadly, not factoring in those kind of final moves, which is very hard to do, or a final tribal council, but how do you, like, is it too close to call, but like a Kate, Kaylin, Zara, kind of assuming that AJ and Miles are somewhere above that, where do you see the Kates, the Kaylins, and the Zaras there?
In my opinion, I think AJ should have been targeted. So how I saw it, I think I thought Kaylin was going to go at 5, and then AJ probably at 4, taking out Miles, and then honestly, some of us thought it was going to be a Zara Kate at some point.
But in terms of just like, in terms of the, like, who you thought would win if they were sitting next to each other, like a Zara, Kaylin. Yeah.
So for Kaylin to win, he would have had to taken out Miles at 4 and AJ at 3, I reckon. Sorry, other one. Because it has to be a decisive move to take those players out. So Kaylin's game was essentially, I have social, I have physical. I don't need to do strategy because I have this big buffer in front of me. Great. I don't need the buffer anymore. I'm going to axe both of them. Now I am all that's left. And he needs to do that. He can't, you know, and it can't just be, and the AJ move especially, he needs to take out AJ as a direct vote out. It can't be, I win a challenge and now I have to have the power. I can decide. No, it has to be AJ goes. This is it. I have other numbers. We're going to all systematically target AJ because that is a decision you're making. And we know that you have emotional investment. We know you're a good player. You need to now amp it up and say, I am making decisions with agency, with accuracy, and strategy. That's it. And I think if we take Kaylin doing those moves, I think he can win against most people. Actually, to be honest, anyone. I think if you have those voting system, Kaylin wins. Hands down, he wins. He's now hit every element of the game, played pretty much a foolproof game as well now.
Right. But if he sits next to like a Zara and then and he can't claim those moves, then she has the upper hand.
He has the upper hand. And then this is also pitch dependent as well. Like when we're thinking about getting to the end, we're also thinking about who's going to actually outmaneuver and out-talk you. Zara is a lawyer. She will talk essentially Kaylin out of the water. And that was a genuine concern as well. So I think from that regard, if Kaylin and Zara had the same trajectory where they both worked together to make Miles and AJ leave, hard to say. I think with the jury, I don't know. It really depends on the sentiment that Miles and AJ have. Like,
what about like a Kate Zara?
I think it's hard. So this is the beauty of the graduates is that if Zara's up there now, there's 4 graduates now on the jury as well. And I like to think that we'd stay graduate strong, mainly because we've also seen Zara's game. We respect Zara's game. We know she's a competitor. And I would argue she had a far superior strategic control of the game than Kate would have. But it's more so sentiment. Zara's more of a pricklier character to other players. Logan didn't really gel with Zara too much. Laura has, real gripes with her as well from the previous votes. Kate will probably, Kristen didn't really work well with Zara, Paulie as well. So now there's that divide.
There's the 4-4. That's where we're picking rocks on that. We found it. We found where it was going to happen. So, yeah, I mean, I think that those endgame decisions, I mean, it kind of feels like AJ and Miles were up there and then Kaylin, Zara, Kate, all different things to speak to. But the end pathway and the pitch is very
Yeah.
important. So that's what makes it, a tough end game there. I mean, you spoke about this with Kaylin going into the final tribal council. Next to Miles as well is hard. He hadn't been super decisive in taking out AJ. He wins the challenge and he does it, but he's crying. And it's hard to even credit that. Or you could almost more credit Miles, because at that point, at least he's making a strong argument, about AJ's game. As much as I think Kaylin really did it for himself and made the right move for him, he did it in a way where, again, like, it didn't look super decisive. So going into that final tribal council, how open were you? What were you thinking? How did you kind of feel the general jury sentiment was? And yeah, how do you feel like that Kaylin needed to deliver on that to get your vote?
So sentiment wise, another big jury blow up was after the final 3 vote. It was fantastic to watch that tribal, mainly because we saw AJ doing what he's very good at, which is just, highlighting Miles's game very, very aggressively, and then also playing at essentially playing at Kaylin's sort of sentiments towards him, by saying, go with your heart. And it was magnificent to watch, mainly. And like Logan, Laura, and I were watching this going like, oh my God, this is stunning. This is so good. Like AJ said, like he's building this up. He's building this whole sentiments around Kaylin being like, I had this beautiful relationship with you. You're great. I love you. You're my, one of my best friends. And then AJ says, go with your heart. And I just whispered to Laura, kill shot, done. That's it. That's it. Just give it to AJ now. That's it. That's 100% the winning move. And then when we, and then, Kaylin breaks down, and yeah, absolutely, we feel really bad for him. And then we go, and then Paulie gets really upset at us because he's just like, can't believe you guys were just, making fun of this beautiful sentiment between AJ and Kaylin. I'm like, we're not. I'm just showing you what AJ's doing. Like, just watch it. It's like, that's strategy. That's play. That's, like, he's like, no, it's a beautiful one. I'm like, yeah, it is. I'm not saying that they don't have a great relationship, but I'm saying that he's taking advantage of that situation. And this is the huge disagreement. And then when Kaylin took Miles and AJ aside to have his conversation, the jury kind of just went, what are you doing? This is a top 3. I get it. You want to have a human element and a moment, but it's top 3. This is, if you're sentimental about it, if you're emotional about it, do that. Say that this is a difficult decision for you. Use our human side and be like, this is really hard, but I need to pick my game, and use that. Use us as the backup for your game. But he didn't. And I think Paulie was like, no, you guys don't understand it. He doesn't owe us anything. And I'm like, no, we're deciding who to give $500,000 to. I think he can, I think he owes us that. And if he's emotional about it, say it. If you're angry, say it. That's what we wanted. And this was the big disagreement, where they're like, oh no, you guys don't understand emotion, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm like, no, we understand emotion. I'm just saying, this is it. And the whole, you don't respect Kaylin's game, etc. And like, Kristen was very staunchly on Kaylin's side as well. And we're saying, no, there are merits to his game. There are definite, like really huge components of Kaylin's game there. But you need to vocalize it. You need to say it. This is crunch time now. You cannot hide anymore. It's out there. And so going into that tribal, Zara, AJ, me, I think myself, Laura, Logan, we were very much on the Miles side of the fence. But if we heard the appropriate pitch, we would have been swayed. And the first, Miles and Kaylin, my God, were they long speeches? Like, so long. Oh my God. And Kaylin started off really well, and then it lost steam. And then by the time we got to the questions, it really deteriorated. And then Miles took advantage of it. Miles owned up to being sloppy. Miles owned up to the fact that his advantages really did sort of help him get so far in the game. And then Kaylin made the misstep of going, no, I played a perfect game. I played a perfect game. I would not do anything. And he did not do what he should have done, which is play to what he was good at. Kaylin knew the direction of every single vote. That's 21 tribal councils. 21. Yeah. Every direction of every single vote, he knew the direction of. And he had such a good social game that every player that fell had him in their end game. Laura, me, Logan, Kristen, AJ, every single one of us invested in him, and like he was our downfall. He didn't own up to it, and he should have said that. And because Kalen's read on the jury was wrong as well. I think in his exit interview, he said, like, Logan and I mistook his, the friendly sort of personal aspect from the strategic side of things, but he did that when it came to the jury. He should have put us in our place. He should have said, Karin, you thought you were smarter than me. Look where you ended up. You thought you were a better strategist than me. This is what happens. You invested, and I did not follow through. And that was because I was playing the game I wanted to play. He is an aggressive competitor. I've seen him like in challenges. He needed to be that at his pitch. And I think that's where he faltered. I think he has a winning game. I genuinely think he has a winning game. And it was just pitched incorrectly.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's some ruthless strategy there on you, on Logan, where he's like a death knell, and we say like the misread where he's doing that, but he's not owning up to that because he's not wanting to hurt feelings. This jury was like, we don't care about feelings, we want to vote on strategy. And I think had he been like, and it is hard because if it's not backed up with receipts, which he did, to be fair, I think have receipts, but then people can see him as delusional. So he has to like be able to really prove you and be like, I was better than all of you. Some people are like, wait, were you? And maybe you don't see it at the time. So I think there is still a balance there. It's not just about going so hard, but Miles and I talked about it, that Miles got to be defensive and Kalen was kind of defensive, whereas Kalen needed to come in to win, and he needed to throw everything at the wall. And if you say like you are delusional, then he's still just going to lose anyway. But he has to throw something at it to try convince you over to prove that. But like, even if he does that, do you think against like a Miles that can win even? Or yeah, because I mean, maybe next to some of the other people we've spoken about, but Miles still has stuff like people are respecting as well.
Like, and it's I think it is not a complete like landslide 7-1 split like it was. I think there would have been more people swayed across. And this is the thing, the receipts really didn't back up the claims. For example, he said that getting me out was one of the biggest moves. And it felt really flat because he was like, oh, Kaz, I only went against you because you went against me. And I went, when did I do that? And he's like, oh, at this point, you said this and that you were going to target me. And I went, who told you that? He went, oh, AJ told me. And I'm like, AJ, did you lie? I just looked at him. He goes, yep, I lied. And I went, now your argument is gone. And he said this really just Delulu thing where he goes, oh, Karin, I spelled your name wrong during your vote out just to really, really amp that I'm really dumb card. And I went, oh, okay. So the thing that has aggravated me for the entirety of my game, you're going to aggravate me more and hope I give you my vote because you want to. I was like, I don't see it. I'm sorry. I just don't see it. Yeah, he was overly specific. He just needed to go broad strokes of going like, oh, cool. Yeah, cool. I don't have, the big strategy, big maneuvers, but I used information that I had. I knew what my detriments were, which is what Miles did. Miles said it. Sure, I don't have a good social read on people. I make a lot of mistakes, but I rally, I maneuver, and I use them to my benefit when I needed to. And that swung it. Like, yeah, it was a knockout because he was sitting next to Miles, who can outpitch him any day of the week, and he didn't claim the things he was good at, whereas Miles did. Miles defended everything, which is good because that's all we wanted to do. That's all we wanted to hear. And Kalen didn't go on the offense, and then I don't think AJ helped either. So.
Yeah, so I mean, coming back from the show and getting back into work, had it been the vacation you had wanted it to be? Was it relaxing compared to being a doctor?
No, it was not.
No.
It was not relaxing.
You need a vacation for real. You need like to be on like a beach, but well, you had Jury Villa, but still, maybe, and even that, there's still politicking at Jury Villa.
Oh my god, no! I think so. Like Survivor, at the end of the day, it wasn't So like I said, it was at a really shit time in life, and I needed a massive circuit breaker to break me out of a rut. And I think it did that for me. Much in the way, like, Miles says, I don't realize, how good I am or how much of a threat I am. I'm like that in life. And like working where I work, it's an echo chamber of people telling you you're not good enough and you're not smart enough and you're all of that. And I had that for 6 months. And then I did something where I got to be a bit reckless, slightly stupid, just say exactly what I wanted to say and find out things about myself. Like, I can hold my breath for an hour and 17. Apparently that's something I can do. And that was it for me. Like, I think after I came back from Survivor, I've been so much better because I think it really just changed my perception of myself and my ability to do things. And like the relationships I've formed as well. I think, yeah, like I am a petty bitch and that's fine. That's sure. And like the comments you cop from the general public, it'll come, and it's sure. I whinge a lot, and it's that is inherently part of my personality too. Cool. I think most of my friends that have watched it have just been like, oh, okay, so it's just you, but like unfiltered and with no fear of getting fired. And I went, there you go. And I think like Survivor is one of the best social experiments on the planet, where we know that it's not normal social tact to tell someone, why did you vote me out? Why, blah, 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 and tell them all the negative aspects about themselves. You don't do that in real life, but this is a hall pass and you're going to take your hall pass. And it is a ridiculous way to make relationships. Like, you are sabotaging each other, you're lying to each other, you are manipulating everyone to the nth degree, and for some reason you sort of salvage a relationship or you salvage something about yourself, which is, I think, what I got out of both levels. And I think I'm far better a person now after it. Like, I'm so much better mentally, so much better physically, mainly just because I'm like, okay, cool. All right. I have attributes. There are good things about me. There are things I can do. I'm not an idiot. Sometimes I can be. But yeah, when I decide to be. And like, I had so much fun getting voted out. Like, that tribal was probably the funnest I've had. And because I don't know. I just got to be as aggressive as I wanted to be, channel in my inner theater nerd, because I love theater. And then do something for the sake of doing it. It's fine. Like, it wasn't life or death. Like, what I do day to day, it unfortunately has life or death repercussions. Like, I can't just be like, I'm just, for the sake of it, I'm just going to do this. No, you can't, because someone literally dies. Whereas, I can just be like, I'm just going to play Russian roulette, and if I die, I die. So be it. But yeah, that's Survivor.
It's a good perspective, and you've heard it here first, everyone. If you need a circuit breaker, apply for Survivor. No video necessary. The corrupt file, do that. And then I'm glad it was such a great experience for you, and that you have like a more positive sense of yourself and where your life is at. And I think that that's kind of all you can ask for. But thank you so much for coming on to talk through your whole game with me. I feel like I was on the island now. I've done like 14 and a half hours more, almost like 15 hours on the season. And I was on the season at this point, right? Like, in my mind, I can place myself there, and I'm like looking around.
You
like
are
I'm
in
some sort of simulation.
You are Samoa.
Yeah, but without having to actually go outside, which is the best case scenario. So
it's like AI generated Survivor.
Yeah, that's how I feel. But thank you so much. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about with your game? Or did we get it all out there?
No, like I think I think like I said, it's by no means perfect. It is, like I said, best and worst attributes about myself. But ultimately, if I played it the way I wanted to play it, so be it. And I had a great time.
Love it. Well, tell people where they can find you to find your top 10 list of the best of your favorites, etc., and what you're doing on social media.
Yeah, so unhinged tweets are at it's Karin, and then I'm also on Instagram. And then more recently now, because Laura keeps making me 2 TikToks, I'm on TikTok as well. Great. Just
I
like and
see.
subscribe. No, please don't. Please don't. Don't subscribe.
Yeah. No, I mean, the whole cast is very into TikTok. That's above, well, not above my pay grade, but I think we're 1993 babies. Like, TikTok for me, I'm like, it's past my time, and I've just accepted that. I do Instagram Reels like a millennial. That's
No,
my
Shannon, there are 30-year-olds on TikTok. Like
I'm on
we can
30.
we
I'm
huh?
32. I'm
Yes,
32 is maybe that's just different.
I am also turning 32. Like I don't think we should, limit ourselves to just Instagram reels.
I do love my Instagram Reels, though. I'm on them all the time. It's just mostly cat videos. Literally, just watch a cat video, I send it to Peter, and then I just, like, have more, and that's, like, then, like, an hour is gone of my time, which is, yeah. That, and so I can't do TikTok too, okay? Just from a time perspective, I really shouldn't. But everyone else should do TikTok and follow you. Follow everything that your cast is doing on all the social media. You can follow me at not on TikTok, but on Instagram and on Twitter at Shannon Gates. We know globalsurvivor.com. These deep dives. The AJ one is out. The Mars one is out. I'm on vacation currently when you're listening to this, so no more 48 for a couple of weeks, but there will still be deep dives. There's this one, and then there's going to be Logan as well, and then I'm going away. So that's currently where we are at with that. But thank you all for listening. And Karin, thank you so much for coming on to talk about your game.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I thought this was going to be like an hour tops. Apparently, I yapped.
No, it's great. And I hope your cat is okay after eating that fly.
Yeah. She hasn't thrown it up. We'll see.
Oh my God, I don't know if that's better or worse. I mean, you're a doctor, so you would know. I mean, I know that's not the type of medicine or creature that you usually are, operating on. But hopefully she is okay. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone for listening. Thank you to our team behind the scenes, and I will see you next time. Bye.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.